For those of you listening, it sounds as though Steve might be doing the wild thing in his living room.
They're being quietly loud.
There. We decided to go live.
It's silver.
2 minutes.
Silver.
2 minutes early.
Yeah, of course.
Sounds like they're putting the furniture back in place. I think they were using a bowling ball. All right. Steve, we've been live for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, bro.
Why?
Oh, man.
It sounded like y'all were doing the wild thing.
And we were like, we're going live. We're going to let the early people hear that shit.
You motherfuckers.
Dude, it was hilarious. Hey, Ed. So we're live already. Long story short, it sounded like there was a chimpanzee wrestling a harmonica in the background.
I did not hear that. I do not have headphones. Can you hear me? Is sound okay?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Sounds good.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me turn up the volume a bit.
He's like, all right, I'm leaving.
Let me close the door.
We should have went live the moment it started.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I told you.
I wasn't sure if you could hear me or not.
We heard.
She was like, ay.
And then I heard a bowling ball, I think.
Yeah, did you using a bowling ball?
No.
Or is that you?
Yeah. No bowling balls were used.
No bowling balls were armed.
I'm telling you, I have tears because I was laughing so hard. It was.
I logged in like, I don't know, 6 minutes ago, and it popped up, and Drew's face was like.
He's like, as he puts his headphones on, he's like,
yeah, I'm all. Go live, and he's like,
what was it?
And he's all, is that a bowling ball? And I'm like, you should definitely go live. And he's like, okay. And then he did it, and then we sat here listening.
Steve came on camera. He's like, all right, I'll be back in a second. Someone showed up. Why is my camera doing that? Someone showed up, and it sounded eventful in the background.
Gotcha.
So we're live, everybody, obviously, and we are joined by Ed from Sparked Innovations.
Hello.
I'm sure everyone knows Sparked Innovations, but if you don't, they make awesome car audio products and 12-volt accessories.
Well, thank you.
Because I use their stuff for far more than just car audio. You know, the relay, the RBX is RBX. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. Use it for all kind of stuff.
Use them on your test bench.
Exactly. Yep.
Or whatever else you like.
And I've had one. I've had one for since 4 years. 4 years, I think. Three.
Yeah,
at least
you
three.
have an older one. They've been revised a little bit over time.
No, so I actually ended up switching out the older one because I put in a new one next to the old one. I was like, I need two new ones.
What was it? A different colored board?
It was a different colored board, and the new one had RGB on it. And I was like, I want some RGB.
Always some changes and whatnot. So
Steve's like getting snacks and going and washing up in the bathroom.
Bro,
and giving himself a re-wipe and a.
I think Rich is in the chat. That's probably who said that.
Rich.
Let's I can click on comments here. Oh wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I've been thinking about getting StreamYard. We use Melon right now, and it's limited.
Yeah, this works pretty good. I pretty much only knew about it because of Kicker, because they use it for their stream, and it seems it's pretty intuitive, easy to use.
Yeah. I haven't had any issues with it. Besides my camera being a little weird sometimes, but I think that's more my end than anything.
Yeah, I think it's you. I think you're a simulation. Sometimes he gets all max headroom and weird, and I think it's pretty cool.
Well, it doesn't make sense because I have a super powerful PC, so it shouldn't have any issues. I don't know what.
He's just doing it right there a little bit.
I know, and like I'm not doing anything with my GPU right now. It's literally just chilling.
It's all the compression.
So it's the camera itself. It must have like a little fuckiness inside of it. Maybe a little connection issue or something. I don't know.
I'll figure it
So-
out at some point.
So Ed, you're like one of the nicest people ever. You're super sweet and kind to everybody, and you never say anything brash or mean. For example, myself or Drew being pretty fucking mean to people sometimes. Do you ever get any haters? You ever have people like, fuck that guy and his shit?
Now that you say that, I've never seen anyone say a negative word about Ed.
Yeah,
Well,
not ever.
There was one guy when I was with T3 Audio. And
Okay, this is so long ago that most of the chat may not know. Actually, there's a bunch of old people in the chat. They might know who T3
2010.
is.
Yeah, so 13 years ago. And this guy pretended he made a fake Ed Lester screen name on Car Audio Forum. What, was that just called Car Audio or whatever it was called?
Car Audio Forum was one of those main forums. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Bobby Gately disappeared.
What the fuck?
I'm the only one without camera.
There you go. I have no idea what happened there. I swear I didn't touch a fucking thing. I'm just sitting here.
But yeah,
How'd you get it back on?
He made a fake
I clicked the
profile.
thing that said start cam.
You're back
I was
now.
like,
So what happened? 2010.
Yeah,
What'd he say?
I don't know what I think his gripe was just against the company in general, and since I was working for the company at the time, he took it out on me, and he went under a screen name that looked like mine with the same avatar and started saying a bunch of racist stuff on that forum.
oh
guess
wow,
trying to-
that's some wild ass shit.
Yeah, I like we took some steps towards stopping him, and that place was a cesspool. If I'm remembering which forum it is, but I remember them having a whole bunch of problems. So that was the only thing, really. I mean, of course, people hate and people get jealous and all that sort of thing. Whatever, it is what it is.
I mean, if that's all you got, you're doing pretty good, man.
Yeah.
To be real.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I mean,
The-
Bobby
like
can't
an
post a
example
picture
is
of his
like- there's like-
baskets.
I'm pretty sure there's like groups on Facebook of people that are like, Steve Mead was mean to me, fucking group in Facebook, and they all gang. They're like, he was mean to me 2 years ago. And all I told him is he should have done his shit all different, and he told me to fuck myself, man. And
Yeah, but sometimes you got to do that. So Steve and I have similar philosophies with things. Like we don't like to take recommendations for products we should make. Number one, the logistics of doing that. If you actually developed a product because someone told you about it.
See, he's already so much nicer than all of us would be. He's like the logistics of it. We're like, because he's fucking stupid and he don't know any better. And it's just like, no, the logistics are hard.
Some ideas are good, but I have a list of 100 ideas that I haven't gotten to yet. And then
maybe
what
your
is
idea
this
you
person
told me
gonna
is
want?
on the list. Maybe it's not. Maybe it was considered and thought of as stupid a long time ago. Like, yeah, I don't need people to tell me, hey, man, I think you would kill it if you designed boxes for fucking 82 cutlasses. Man, there's hella people with these. I'm like, fuck yourself.
He's actually not. That one might not be a bad idea.
Shut up,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Steve.
not awful, really.
I didn't fucking ask you.
Yeah, build one of those trunk fucking thrashers.
I'm telling you,
Yes,
I
you
have.
make like probably 24 different boxes that'll fit that.
That'll already
build
do that.
anything
Yeah.
No, you need
for
one.
that
If it says cutlass, you'll sell at least 10 more.
Yeah.
over the next 10 years. Cool.
Not the
Thanks.
point.
Yeah.
I have a Cutlass. I have a 94 Cutlass Sierra.
There you go.
Sweet.
It's
No,
not a good
you have one of the coolest vehicles ever created, the HHR. Thank you.
Well, I have that. Yeah, but a lot of people don't think it's cool, or they
that
think
sucks.
it's a PT Cruiser.
Hey.
Yours looks a lot
Hey.
more like a PT Cruiser
Hey.
than most other HHRs, though, in everybody's defense. But
Hey, my PT Cruiser was
really,
awesome.
It's
Thank
really
you.
cool, though. What's that?
Well, thanks.
I said my PT Cruiser was awesome-ish. Thank you.
It's the same designer.
I knew that.
I would
That-
have bet my entire life on that. Yep.
He's like, let's just make it a little bit bigger,
Yours is
a little bit taller.
yours is SS,
Put a
right?
Chevy back
HHR
on.
SS.
Yeah, yes, that's the turbo one.
Is it a panel or no?
No, I wanted a panel. They're just more rare and hard to come by.
Yeah, there was a red one that was a panel SS around here for a little bit. And
Yeah, and
It
I
was
don't
pretty
like
cool.
the red that they use. It's kind of it's a bright red with a little orange in the tone, and especially the seat trim. So I had an old HHR L2LT. I got that in 07 brand new before the SS came out. And the panels were coming out. And originally I did order a panel.
But you saw that SS,
the
you're
waiting
like,
list was like a year. So I said, screw it, give me the non-panel one. And then I upgraded to the SS later, but I looked around. I got a used one. I looked around the whole country, and most of them had like red seat trim. I'm like, no. Or they were red, and I wanted black or blue. And I found a black one in South Carolina.
Oh, I bet they wanted arm LA.
$10,000 for it. 60,000 miles. I mean, it wasn't too bad. It was in my range, so I got it.
I'm looking at your pictures. I don't know if I've ever really looked at your build. Let me pull this
I
up.
actually haven't published a whole lot on how the HHR is now because I was waiting to do my video series, and it's been 2 or 3 years. That's my old HHR. That's the
hang on. Is this in it? Is that what that was in it at one point?
Yeah, this is this is in 2007. This is a couple weeks after I bought the car.
Oh shit!
So
look at that! Look at that!
2007. How did you make that light up like that?
That's the lighting company I used to work for. That I did. I think I might have mentioned like I helped design the original Iron Man. Some of the props on the Iron Man suit and in the background.
No, I don't think you did. No, wait. Yeah, I remember hearing something about that. Yeah.
I don't talk about it too much because I don't have any of the files left from back then. That was 07. And that's my brother's Durango. But that was a flat, flexible light panel. We called it an LEC. It's like an EL, electroluminescent strip.
All right, look, Bobby.
We had huge panels.
Bobby.
It's dope.
You already...
And there, I had separate panels, and I had them sequenced in that box.
Get one. You need to get some of these and epoxy them into something. All right, you need to get Ed to make some.
But I use LEDs
I
now
can make things light up like crazy now, but I'm using all sorts of technology.
Like, look at that. Hold on. Wait, stop.
Like
bottom
LED
right.
sticks with a light every inch.
Was that solid? Wow.
So it's like thick vinyl, and I just wrapped it around my box, and I cut where the woofers mounted. So you can cut it and everything.
Bro, in 2007,
Yeah, that was 09.
That had to like break people's minds when they saw it.
We were trying to make it a company. We called it Razor Light, and we showed it SEMA. So that picture was 07 DB Drag World Finals. We showed it SEMA in 08, I think. And we were actually, if you ever go to SEMA, they have a counter, like you could scan your card and then it gives them the info. Well, as an exhibitor, you kind of get receipts of who scanned in. So you could send them like their email and contact information. And it also counts how many scanned. We were the second most scanned booth in all of SEMA that year, behind only Ford.
Jeez.
And we just couldn't back it up with anything. So we had all this stuff. The technology was just very limited, and we didn't really have a fully packaged product ready to go. So, and then some other guy kind of copied our idea and went on Shark Tank, and they turned him down. So we're like, this isn't going to work.
And then marketing in 07 was a lot harder than... I mean, I feel like it'd be harder than it is today because the internet. Like, you could have posted that done today, and people would just lose their minds, even now.
Yeah,
that's
like I was just now.
People didn't have a ton of expendable income after 07.
And that stuff was very expensive. LEDs just surpassed it in a lot of things, cost being the biggest thing. So a panel the size to wrap my box like that would have been about $1,000. So
shit,
that's okay.
Yeah.
See, Bobby's like, that's fine.
Light it up with
if I showed my customer and I was like, here's your box, and it looks like here's your rendering, and I showed him a picture of a similar box that had that shit on there, and it'd be $2,500 more to make it look like that, and they'd go, yeah, I want that.
You haven't started yet?
Yeah, they'd be like, okay.
A similar technology, similar brand to us, a competing brand, did the Cash Cab. If you guys remember that show, they had a ceiling all done.
I do remember that show.
Kind of danced around and stuff, so it was cool.
Since you have just kind of dropped a few very interesting pieces of your life time frame.
Yeah, and we've only gone like 3 minutes in.
Yeah, let's go way back and let's have you tell us your story. I'm super interested, Ed. Tell us what got you started, what other jobs you've had and fun experiences you had in this industry and others. And tell us what's up, Ed.
Like the Iron Man thing.
I've told different variations of my story over and over. And actually, I think I made a post. It might have been a while ago. I made a sheet of all the jobs I've had in my life, and they rival Homer Simpson. Like the amount of jobs I was a UPS man, working at in lighting and whatnot, working on film sets and TV shows and all that sort of thing. But I'm a car audio nerd, just like you guys show last week when you're like showing your Alma Gates memorabilia and stuff like that. Like I have some stuff around. Like I have always been a fan. I still have a Rockford sticker I sent away for when I was like 15, and I never peeled the back off to use it because I was like, when am I going to get a sticker like this ever again? So I kept it in a book somewhere to keep
nice
it flat.
And flat. Yeah.
So, and I have my Rockford hat from back then and t-shirt, all that sort of thing. So when I was in high school, that's really when I got into car audio. It was like freshman year, sort of. Before that, it was mostly home audio, DJ stuff. I was always interested. We had shops, and you could walk into the shop, and they had DJ equipment, car stereo equipment, home stuff, all types of things. And you would see all these enclosures stacked up, and they would be the gray carpeted, boxes with the tweeters mounted in them, also the horn tweeters. And I just thought that stuff was amazing. So I would build enclosures it was a summer between like 7th grade and 8th grade. I started building enclosures, and I would build them in my bedroom and buy all different types of woofers just to try them out, look at them and put them in there. And I had this huge bandpass contraption that was like the size of my bed. I also made my desk. I took the drawers out of my desk, put a baffle, mounted woofers in there, that kind of stuff. And I would sleep on this bandpass, and I would play like DJ Laz, Moments in Bass, from Best of Techno Bass. I would play test tones, just like 25 hertz, just a low rumble, and lay on it and have it make me fall asleep. It'd be soothing.
My guy is like, bout it.
Yeah. I mean, Basshead, I had a little RC car. I used to build kind of customized bikes, and I had a little RC pickup truck that I took a speaker out of a bookshelf, set up and put it in the bed with a baffle, all that sort of thing. And
he was doing all the cool stuff.
All that. As soon as I was able to get access to a car, when I was 15,
it was on.
My mom let me use her car to put in my Sturm Vegas, my Rockford 60iX on my 2 Sturm Vega XLs, because I saw an ad at the local shop for a competition. I was like, I want to do that. Can I put it in there? And she let me do it. I didn't win or anything, but I was hooked. The next year, I had my own car. I showed up with 612s at the same show. And shortly after that, the next year, I started doing more and more. And in high school, I was doing 150s. And
what kind of car was it?
Plymouth Duster, 87 okay. Plymouth Duster. I basically got it for free. And I bought my first World Finals was 03. I was 23. So it took that long of a period of time for me to save up the money, get the right equipment, and be able to go to enough shows to qualify. Because back then you needed 100 points. And I did in 03, I did Super Street 1 to 2. You would have 20 people show up at a local show in that class that were competitive. So it was really hard back then to make it to finals. And I finally did it in 03.
Hey, yo.
That looks like it. Yeah. Mine was gray.
Okay.
I'm going to be honest. That thing just looks loud.
Is it, was it a hatchback?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I like that car.
Super similar to my Chrysler Laser. My 1984 Chrysler Laser was quite a bit cooler, but also a piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, the laser was jumped off of that, so I bought 3 of these cars. I had my original Duster. Then I wanted a sporty one because I learned they had a turbo version called the Shelby Charger. I got one of those.
Yep.
I competed in street class with that, but kind of kept it a little bit. It's only 170 horsepower. I mean, but back then, whatever. And then when I wanted to make a run for finals and build a true walled car, I got I think it was an 89 or a 90 Plymouth Horizon, which is the same as a Dodge Omni, which is basically the 4-door version of that car. And that's what I took to finals in 03. And I think slap show finals in 04 or no, 05. Yeah, I don't know, somewhere around there. It's all blending together now. So,
man, that's.
It was a
So
lot.
tell us
even
about
at-
some of your cool jobs you had. You made Iron Man fucking components.
Yeah. How'd you get to that?
So I was an installer at Circuit City from 99. So I was 19. Might have been the end of 98. I might have still been 18. I forget. Until maybe 2005. And that was the year I met Scotty Johnson. But that was competing and going to finals while working at Circuit City. We were, and the shop is right down the street here. It's weird. This is my first car audio job, was right down the street. And through that, we were what's called a platinum store. We were the biggest store in our region. We had a guy that had Nicolas Cage's Chevelle SS, came in. I did a radio in the glove box, didn't drill a single hole or mess up with a single wire. Like, everything was pristine, just added onto. So I did a CD player in the glove box and kept the original on the dash, all this and that. So that job kind of got me a little bit involved in like some of this higher cool stuff out in the world, but I got tired of being an installer. You'd find gum stuck to floor mats, by leaning on it in your elbow, and it was just dirty and nasty. I didn't like that. So I worked at Lowe's for a little bit. I worked at a couple other places, like a landscaper. I worked at Radio Shack. And actually, while I was at Radio Shack, Rich, my business partner, was working for this company called Sea Light. They made that lighting, and he was getting ready to leave. And he asked if I could interview as his replacement. And they hired me first interview. So I didn't show up to Radio Shack that day. And I got the job. I accepted the job, and I didn't show up ever again. I never even talked to the manager.
Goddamn.
I didn't want to sell cell phones. I mean,
hey, look,
ridiculous.
they wouldn't give you a 2-week notice if they was going to fire you. So I mean,
yeah. I mean, and it was a joke.
And I mean, if you'd have waited 3 more weeks, they would have gone out of business anyway.
I was going to say they weren't around much longer.
No, it's
maybe that's why they went out of business.
Because Ed left.
Yeah.
One of my first jobs was Sears, also at the repair shop. I was an apprentice TV technician.
All right,
Sears out of business. Circuit City, Pep Boys, Radio
all
Shack.
of them.
See a trend.
We have a Pet Boys.
Is it the local one? I guess. Moved.
Oh no, yeah, we had a Pet Boys that actually
right down the street from
had
my
a
shop.
speed shop for a little bit. Like,
yeah, they tried that. For
it was ran by a local dude who deep into the race car world locally, and they stocked nitrous, radial. It was a race shop ready to go.
And then they sold to another investment firm because that didn't work for them. So that's what I mean by them being out of business. Different ownership.
I'm gonna scroll back. Back real quick and bring this back up. Someone talked about the beard costs. I don't know about y'all, but I don't spend $1 on my beard.
I need to trim mine.
It's
just a little bit.
This is how it is, guys. Like,
yeah.
And then Bobby may not have a beard tomorrow. We don't know what he's feeling.
I might not. I almost shaved it off the other day. I was like,
It grows in a week, so
it grows really fast. So it's like I would if I shaved my beard, I would have I'd go through shavers and I would have, minutes of shaving my fucking face every day. It'd be work.
I can't stand it. My hairs go like this. That's the grain.
Well, I gotta brush it. Like, I get cleaned up and then I brush it real quick and then it's like fairly straight. It's okay. But when I get done training jujitsu, it's like a fucking Brillo pad. It goes out sideways and it's like all mush like this.
It's like, hey, I
I
need
get
some,
home and I'm all, oh,
need some
shit.
steel wool, Bobby. Get over here.
It is. I mean, for sure. Yeah.
So how'd you get the Iron Man? Like, how'd you get to building stuff for, I guess, Hollywood at that point?
All right,
Yeah.
so that's Sea Light. That's the lighting company.
Gotcha.
I went as Rich's replacement, and Rich did cool things too. Chad Smith of Red Hot Chili Peppers, he did Chad Smith's drum set, and went on the set of SNL and played drums with him and all that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Rich is a musician.
Yeah, a drummer. Yeah, a percussionist.
Yes, you have to use the distinction, because my dad and my brother will get very mad if you just call them drummers, because they are not.
For the layman, yeah,
they're percussionists, because they can play anything you hit, anything.
Yeah. And this company was actually
But
trying
I'm a
to do
percussionist.
big things, right?
So they were like cheeks.
Like they were on the cover of Time magazine for like greatest inventions and all this and that. They did the Razor phone. Remember the Razor phone?
Mm-hmm.
They did the light up keypad. Was this technology? So
wow.
fairly prestigious. Rich's title and position was a little different, so I didn't replace him directly. This was eventually technically my first engineering job, because the CTO of the company took me under his wing, and I started doing projects with him. Like we would go to Airbus and Boeing. So I'm going to their facility where they're doing development on planes.
Are you self-taught, Ed, or did you go to school to be an engineer?
I had electronics for 2 years.
Okay. In high school, or?
Yeah, in high school. Then
okay, so you're self-taught. Got it.
Yeah. Then I went to Mobile Dynamics in Toronto at 18 to get my MECP. That's when I worked at Circuit City. So I learned car audio stuff in Toronto, which was great because I can't say his last name, Samborn, one of the heads of IASCA, was one of my teachers. Derek Lee, who was an editor for like Auto Sound and Security, he was our teacher. So at 18, I'm like, with these guys. But I just took. You learn concepts. You don't have to learn the exact.
You learn a bunch of concepts. I just watched a video about this yesterday. It said that why specialists who are hyper focused on one discipline often don't succeed as well as generalists who study a wide range of things in the same general niche. Yeah. You learned a bunch of electronic stuff all about all kinds of different things. You can apply that knowledge indirectly to anything you do.
Yeah, and input your own imagination to take it other levels. And I consider myself a polymath, so there are many areas you can take. Through Circuit City, I honed my skills as a troubleshooter. I was
That's a big one.
The people that could really, if a car comes in with problems, I was really able to get in there, dig in, and quickly too. A rapid turnaround time, find the problem, fix it, and get it out of there. So my product engineering, I was project technician under the CTO at Sea Light was one of my things, and one of the vice presidents of the company, really good guy, Don Senior. He was more a sales guy, but we made a good team. So that kind of like helped me coming under that CEO with my background of troubleshooting from car audio, kind of helped me even more hone those skills. And because I was the guy under the CTO, when there was a special either project to do an install or to go fix one that was installed by a distributor or something somewhere,
that was you.
It was us. And I went and did like the set of CNN, one of the CNN shows up in New York. We did like buses in LA,
and these are all
somewhere else.
These are all places or things that the company or that use that company's products, obviously. Right?
Right. Okay. So they were trying to push this lighting. H&M headquarters came to us to do light up posters for them. So I'm in their main store in New York, lining up all these lighting inverters and having them. We had smart inverters that can do a slave master and talk to each other with sequencing. And we're setting all this up. So being in New York at 3 a.m. in the window of this store with the St. Patrick's Cathedral there. And this is my first time in New York. It was like amazing. Doing all the TV sets and whatnot. So then our distributor, who we actually used as our Rich and I then went into business as a side business with. He was one of our to start Razorlight, an offshoot of it. He was selling to a lot, like M. Night Shyamalan is local to us. So when he did Lady in the Water, he saw our lighting somewhere and thought it would be a cool, because I have LED light panels up here. They're edge lit, huge panels, 4 foot by 3 foot. And what that does, it's called a Lambertian emitter. That's what the sun is. So if you hear foot Lamberts, that's the way lighting is measured as it progresses away from the source. So a true Lambertian emitter has no beam on it.
It's perfectly parallel. Well, not parallel, but
the light is the same intensity no matter what angle you look at it. So these panels were a true Lambertian emitter. And so for the movie industry, they were great for shining light on things because you don't get shadows and you don't get point source issues.
I see. The only reason I know that is I watched a video where a dude made a fake sun through a window. He had to use a reflector that was all parallel angles at the same intensity to mimic exactly how the sun would shine.
Now, all this stuff I learned at Sea Light, I took with me when I went and did film production stuff. So it all helps. Like I said, you keep on honing your skills. And so we did a lighting thing on Lady in the Water, maybe The Village, a couple M. Night Shyamalan things. We did the Collateral movie too. Okay. So like I said, Rich also, after he left that job, he was still tied in. He was an industrial designer and he was working for one of the sign companies that used our stuff, used the lighting. And then he worked for the distributor, like I said, when we did Razorlight. So through that, I get an email one day. Well, it comes into the general box and it was technical questions. So it comes to me and my boss comes out, check your email. I'm like, okay. He's like, this guy's making a superhero movie and he's building props and wants to use our panels. I'm like, all right, I'll get to it. Like the way he said it, this guy wants to make a suit.
Yeah, he's like this guy.
Student film or this guy down the street, whatever. And then, so this guy, we have to sign the NDA and all this stuff. He sends me over plans, all his design files. And he said, can you make a panel that could fit this? One was, it looked like a robotic chest suit with a cavity in the center.
You're like,
Yeah. This is for a Jon Favreau film. And like back then, it wasn't even like public yet. This is early days. The other stuff was like computer screens that weren't computer screens. That were going to be static graphics that lit up. But if you look, there's a really good shot in Iron Man 2 of that one. When they're on his plane and he's standing near the doorway of the plane, next to him you'll see a screen, like a control screen that's lit up. Well, that's our panel. So like it's shaped weird. Instead of just being a rectangle like a computer screen, because you could cut our panels, we made them in different shapes and whatnot.
I think I might have found it. Let me see here.
You could. I had a screenshot of it somewhere, and I can't tell you what shots of the suit, the eyes and the chest were us, but there are certain. Well, there's the chest. So this is Iron Man 2.
Right.
The reason, actually, that might be our lights in his eyes right there because they're a little bluish.
Which one?
But they do color correct it. No, in the one on the right, the main one.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the reason they would use them in some shots, but not all, is like I said, it's a Lambertian emitter, and they show up on film like really, really well, as opposed to where LEDs, especially back then, were a little bit more focused. So certain shots would be LEDs, certain would be CGI, the later ones especially, and some would be our panel inside. So it depended on the ambient lighting, the shot. Was it him wearing the suit? Was it, CGI or whatever it was? So I got to see the designs for that suit well before it ever came out. And then
so I think I found one on the plane. That looks fake. That's crazy. That's real.
Pull it up. Can you pull it up?
Yeah. That's crazy. I mean, I guess.
Oh, I found it, and then
That's
you just
awesome.
keep
So did you get to? I mean, obviously you got hands on with this thing, right?
Yeah, there you go on the left. That's our panel. I designed that on my laptop.
Just a little tiny thing. Okay.
Yeah, and this
All right.
was a but they had those in his mansion. They were like all around the place. We did multiples of them.
That's awesome.
And I look at it, I could see where I fucked up on it.
What's crazy is like
because I
would just assume that
one.
wasn't real because it looks so futuristic.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
what they
even
were
notice
going
it.
for.
Yeah, no, that's sweet, dude.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. So that was kind of a. But I'm not credited. I'm not with the prop house or anything like that.
No,
they
but
hired someone for the light for their prop. I was the light supplier.
right.
Of it, so
yeah, that's still cool. The hell with that.
Yeah. And it gave me interest and background enough that, I was involved in manufacturing, design, even the marketing and installation of all these things. And so when I went with T3 Audio to build subwoofers, I used some of that knowledge also to carry through with the technical side of building things and being in production and whatnot. And then I used what I learned there and that. And, I worked at Excess Power for a while. And I was doing, like, the capacitor stuff is all me. That came from when I worked there. But I used everything I learned. You learn a process, you learn a scientific process, you learn engineering processes, and you can then do test procedures, look at data. You know how to read a white sheet and actually choose components based on that. And so all that gave me background on how to do that. And then I decided, let me go back to school and get my communications degree and study video production. And because my YouTube when I was down in Tennessee started doing decent, I was like, let me learn video production and get better skills here. And I learned I'm very good at lighting. I got a couple jobs on some movie sets.
I noticed your lighting for right now is really good.
Yeah,
I wish it could be better. So, and I use a lot of that stuff to what we do here in Sparked. And, I said, I wish I would have started my business 20 years ago. I wasn't ready for that. I didn't have all this background, all these skills. They weren't there.
Yep.
So the timing is much better.
And it's crazy that you mentioned the troubleshooting thing in car audio. It seems like so few people can properly troubleshoot something. They just don't know they just don't know where to start.
And that's a lot of logic. Experience doesn't get involved. If you've run into this problem 30 times before, you know pretty much what it is. But there's a lot of logic involved with it. What we do here, if someone's assembling a circuit board and they're like, the LED is not lighting. Oh, well, test this, this, and this, and then tell me how the tests go. And then you can narrow it down from there. And that's fun. I like that sort of thing. It's somewhat challenging, and it is a skill. And Drew, I gotta give props to you. There's something I admire about you a lot. And I was actually thinking Bobby about this because I do some acrylic welding here, and I never acrylic welded until we started this business. And I'm like, I'm getting decent, and then I see Bobby's stuff.
Oh, shit.
I am.
You can call me anytime. I will talk you through whatever you're doing. But
here's what I want to get to, is, and like I said, I'm years away from being able to even attempt a stack fab acrylic port or something like that looks that phenomenal. What Drew does is something that I thought I kind of did with going to school in Canada and going to tech school and then going back to school to learn video production. Is if you want to increase your skills or learn something specific, you can become an apprentice. Go learn it. And I remember watching Jesse James when he wanted to build his copper motorcycle. He did not know how to work with copper. Master metal fabricator, but copper was a little different. So he went and found this guy, and he had a whole mini documentary on this, on the copper bike, where he went with this guy that was like 70, 80 years old, who was a master coppersmith. And he stayed with the guy for like months, learning how to work with copper so he could build this copper bike properly. And Drew does that with, learning all the DSP stuff and signal and sound cue stuff now, and what you did with box stuff, and like actually go to a class, go to a master fabrication.
Yeah, now class. you say that, and I've had these thoughts over the last years. I guess I've never noticed this on purpose, but I've always been surrounded by really top level guys in whatever it is I'm interested in. I guess I've never noticed that it was on purpose, like subconsciously, like, oh, well, they're the best.
Right.
Who else am I going to learn from? Like when the time comes when I really want to learn how to fabricate, now I realize what I'm doing. I'm like, all right, I need to go ahead and plan or surround myself with the best fab guys in the nation at some point.
Yeah.
Because who else am I going to learn from?
That's how you get better. It was told, I did some snowboarding, and same thing said with skateboarders. They say you could only really get better if you hang around guys that are good. Don't be intimidated. They could go off the ramp and do flips. You can't hang around them. Eventually you'll be going off the ramp doing flips. And, I'm trying to build up the business to have more resources to do things like this. But one idea is like I said, with Bobby and his acrylic welding, something I could do if I wanted to learn that. There might not be a school you could learn that, but I could say, can I come be a part-time employee for like a few months with you and actually live out there? And maybe not him if he is not open to that, maybe. But if there's not a school or a class that exists, it doesn't mean you can't find a way
to learn it.
YouTube does have that. I know some people dog on it, but hey.
No, I mean,
and I learned very easily.
Up until
YouTube video.
Realistically, up until when did I go to jail? 3 weeks ago. I had a couple people who I could reach out to for electronics, like engineering stuff, to really learn things, but I really didn't have that guy. So I would use YouTube, and I would just read and learn as much as I could without help. Yeah. Now I've been super fortunate that Nick from JL has decided that he wants to just help me learn things, and he's made a 30-minute video the other day to show me how to properly read electrical signals as small as I was trying to read them, because big electrical signals are easy. Yeah. Like multiple volts, it's easy. I was reading like millivolts, and he was like, "Here, you do this, you do this, you do this," and then look, he's compared his results to an AP. He's like, "Look how accurate it is." Blah blah blah. He's like, "You do that, you're good to go." And I'm like, man, it would have taken me forever to figure, if I would have figured it out.
Yeah,
with YouTube.
If you can figure it out. There's certain things that most of the time can't be just figured out.
And
when it
that's what I told Nick. I said, man,
is that diode doing what it's supposed to do? And you're like in a amp or something, and you're like, what in the fuck? And I don't know.
And that's exactly what I told Nick.
And it's different, but
I said, man, I wouldn't even know where to start to learn if I'm doing this correctly.
Right.
And it's one of those things is like Ed said, just I have no problem finding mentorship in people who I know are doing better than me.
Yeah.
Well, what I find these days when it comes to people learning things, there's a lot of people that are willing to help and teach, but so many people that say they're interested in learning things don't bother to put forth any effort to learn on their own. If Ed was like, hey, I want to come down and hang out for a couple weeks, and I want to learn a little bit more about, making these acrylic welds and what it takes to make them just right. I know he's been doing it actively, testing things, trying things, working with things on his own already. I get people that send me messages and they're like, hey, I want to know how to build an acrylic box. And I'm like, what have you done so far? And they're like, nothing.
I watched your video once.
I'm like,
sorry?
I'll tell you the chemical weld stuff. I use this weld on number 3 or 4 and follow the directions. You just make some straight bonds. And every once in a while, some guys will ask a couple questions, and then they'll go, all right, I've been testing like once or twice a week, and check it out. I finally made like a perfect looking single bond. And I'm like, fucking A, man, you're onto it now.
Now do it
Keep
12
going.
more times. You got a box.
And just keep doing. And hey, you know what? Every single all acrylic box I build has little bubbles all over the fucking place. They're not perfect. Some of them are like, fuck, that's pretty goddamn close. But it's still got a bunch of little teeny bubble flaws here and there. We just built 2 of them in the last couple weeks, and there's one spot on one of them. The rest of it is like, damn. There's one spot I'm like, look at that motherfucker right there.
But are they to the level where it pisses you off, but no one else even notices?
Oh yeah, most people are like, oh, and every once in a while,
no idea.
like, what's that? And I'll be like, that's a little tiny fucking flaw, man. Fuck.
No, dude, don't tell them it's a flaw. Tell them that is a custom modification.
That's the fingerprint.
Bobby, are you the
sexy imperfection, like a little bit of a fucking lazy eye or a scar? Fuck you.
Exactly.
Are you the only one at your shop that does the acrylic stuff, or do you?
No, I actually. Oh, are you talking to me or Bobby?
I was asking Bobby, but you can answer too. But
yeah, but so I'm the only one that makes the acrylic bonds because it's fucking sketchy, and I don't know how to say it. So people gotta like watch me do it, and I'm like, can I do this?
It's like that feels
one of them's a little different, and I got my guys watching, and they're
it's
like,
expensive.
If you fuck up, like it's not just expensive; it's like super time consuming. You know what I mean? We're like, all right, so we designed all these parts and we machined all the parts, and then we prepped them, and we got fucking epoxy resin, and that's cured, and then we put the shit back on the machine and machine the design. Now after a couple weeks of getting all their shit together, and now we have a happy accident. And then and now we allocated the space in the office area for be like, all right, I'm gonna do. That's why I was doing both of them at the same time, because I can have one built right there and one built right here, and not have as much of the office gobbled up, because that's where we take pictures of things too. So we can't be taking photos of boxes when I'm building in acrylic. And then so we get it all set up, and I have these little, when I'm doing a bond and it's kind of like this, I use this trick or that trick, and you got to be careful because it might gel and want to fucking slide, and if it does that, well, just throw the whole thing away and start over because you fucking ruined it.
Then you're sad.
Yeah. Or like, I created a bigger gap than I should have right there, and then I filled it with too much chemical, and then when I put pressure on it, I grab subwoofers and very carefully place them on top of things to add weight, and then I got a fucking puddle in there, and then the puddle attacks the surface, and then I have a ugly fucking crazed blob spot in the box, and my technician's in there and be like, I should have that spot polished out by tomorrow. Sorry. It's like that cost me $300 to fix a spot this big, and it's never quite as good as it would have been if I hadn't fucked it up in the first place. So yeah, it's a
what
thing.
About you, Ed? Are you the only one messing with the acrylic welding, or you got other people?
No, I did it to a point where I was comfortable enough showing my techniques to my employees, and like today, so we use matte black acrylic on Fanny and a couple other products, and one of the pieces had, I don't know where the blemishes came from, but it had something on there that she just could not scrub off. So the technique is, okay, use a little tiny bit of acrylic weld, go get it on there and wipe it off real quick and let it evaporate, and that cleaned it, and it looks perfect. You don't know that unless you try it.
Well, you might like, if you wait, you wait a quarter of a second too long, or it's a little too warm in the room.
Yeah.
Wipe a 64th of an inch layer right off the top of that, and it looks like a.
And if you wipe it with the wrong thing,
melted it with a soldering iron.
Your fingertips help. Some rubber gloves or paper towels don't. You want to actually.
Yeah, it sucks to touch the chemical. I don't know if you've, had moments where like you're holding apart. We're making a big ass bond, and some of the material I'm working with is 2 inches thick, so I have a massive amount of the the chemical agent, and it's like
Yeah,
oozing
yeah.
out, and I'm holding the part in place while it sets, and I'm like, put a heavy thing on this, and it's like somebody comes over and I got this shit all over my hands, and
I
then
did. I
an
got
hour
snake glue
later,
under my fingernails
I'll
right
have
now.
a pounding headache.
That's the
And I'll
worst.
be like, I gotta stop touching that shit. But
Ed,
I'm like,
it would appear as though I lied to you. The old one is still in the truck,
Well, hey, it works. There you go.
but so is the new one.
That's the other thing is I taught myself how to do PCB design, and that's why we do PCBs and everything.
And that's tucked away in there.
And it works.
Yep. No, I've had this one since it came out, basically.
Yeah. See, I want to show more of that feature of how the nameplate holds the wire down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Because I see people all the time not doing that. I'm like, bro, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
It's right there.
That's what it's for. I mean, we just got to advertise better. That's one thing I got to learn. And I did have marketing classes, and Rich is good at that and stuff. And
I have some more.
I'm not,
stuff
even
in
though I have a
there.
communications degree, I'm not the best at communicating.
It's
I was
hiding in there.
I was a
It's
driving
horrible photo.
instructor, and I learned how to teach people, but I don't know how. So I like, as far as showing like your technicians and your employees what to do and whatnot, I think I'm decent at it. Jay Cutler, former Mr. Olympia.
I'm about to say, I know that name.
Yeah, he. I was watching one of his videos. He was showing someone an exercise, just a rope pull down. He's like, now I want you to just feel the exercise, feel the muscle movement. If you feel the muscle movement and it feels good, keep doing it. If not, you don't have to do this exercise. But also at the same time, like, I want you to pay attention to what your body is doing when you move. So acrylic welding there's hand-eye coordination. That it's like, you know, with anything, with using tools, the steadiness of your hand, the pace. You know, if you're doing a bead,
being steady with like a big piece, like 5 feet long, like the Post Malone box is like huge, bro. I could. Oh my goodness!
And I'm doing things this big.
Bonding that face onto that.
But Bobby, you do laser cutting stuff, so you would know the arm of the laser has an acceleration and direction change, and has a speed of travel. Your hand should be doing the same thing when you're working with something as finicky as acrylic welding, because if you're going at a pace and then you stop a little, CA glue doing woofers is the same kind of thing, and you leave a glob of glue because you went slower in one area.
Not the glob of glue.
The glob of glue.
Glob of glue. Yeah.
Or thin glue because
no,
you went
for sure.
too fast.
You're like going, oh man, I wish this former was a fucking 5 millimeters longer because my cone is barely, and if this shit runs down the middle of the former, I'm gonna fucking be dead. And so you're like like
but then
laying
also
the bead of glue
attention.
in just so. That's like the sketchiest shit. You're like, I can ruin this woofer right now. Putting
I've
those
done it.
parts together.
We all do it. And you learn about like the viscosity of the material you're working with. So when you need it to drip, you can predict how it's going to drip.
Right.
To do that. So just doing it. You got to do it over and over.
You got to do it. I mean, yeah. And so when it comes to letting my technicians do it, I'm like, all right, here's this, single kicker 15 all acrylic box. I got $900 and some odd in material cost and fucking 20 hours of designing and machining and epoxy and fucking, and then it's like, okay, this is how we do it. And I'm like, watch me do it. not like, go ahead, you do it. So I gotta have the guys like make, 24 little test parts and be like, all right, go over there and fucking make those bonds. This is how we do the first one. Make the rest of those. Recently I had the guys shaping some fiberglass reinforced body filler on a bunch of door panels. Now, fiberglass is easy hard. It's really hard to do it really, really well, but it's really easy to fix it if you fuck it up. Acrylic is super hard and impossible. It's really hard to do it right, And if you do it wrong, you fucked. And you got to start over.
Yeah.
So when the guys are working on, and I was like, okay, you have 10 of these to do. We did 5 sets of matching door panels and door pods. And I was like, I'm going to do the first one. And then you guys are going to take it from there on your own. But do this next one and then do the next set and then come get me. And I'll come over and help you to fix them, because we're going to fix those before you do the next ones. And then the next and the next and the next. But with acrylic, it's fucking hard because it's terrifying. When I first started, when I started Gately Audio, when I created the company name, right? Before that, I was a dude building boxes on his buddy's driveway to put himself through fucking.
That's a good name for a company.
School.
Dude building boxes on his.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, there's a dude, he's over there, and he builds boxes at this other guy's house.
The guy who's been tuning Cletus McFarland's Pro Mod. His YouTube channel is good at doing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just good at doing stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody just bought an expensive ass speaker box. Hey, yeah.
They're good at doing stuff, like spending money.
Yeah. So I manufactured acrylic boxes. The cost of acrylic was 10%, maybe 15% of what it is now. I could buy sheets of 3/4 inch acrylic for $221 or $212 is probably the least I paid. Normally it'd be like $240, $250 a sheet. That's $1,000, $1,200 piece of plastic for really high end cast acrylic. You can buy like what's really crazy about working with thick acrylic is that if you get there's a couple of products that do some really fucky shit that'll make it impossible to build a box out of it. There's a particular product called Merga-Sipta, and when you
made that name up. Stop it.
Nope. Merga-Sipta.
Sip of these nuts. Ayo.
Yeah. Sip the sweat right off of them. And you'll be sweaty working with that shit too, because when you're pushing that shit through the table saw, you'll watch it distort. It's coming out, and you're like, "What in the fuck is going on?" And it'll be potato chips all over the place. You cannot build a box out of warped fucking acrylic. That is not gonna fucking happen. So that's another thing that guys will be like, dude, I've been trying, I got all this free acrylic, and I'm like, it's probably all fucking ruined.
Bobby's done whole acrylic enclosures. Acrylic is stronger than birch. Like, we've got thickness way stronger. Like, way stronger.
It's super heavy.
Yeah, super duper fucking heavy.
Oh yeah, I keep talking about the Post Malone box because it's one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. And it was 6 speakers, and it was like 300 something pounds. It was an underseat box.
Oh yeah, Colt and Tyson carrying it out of the shop, and we were all like, and these big, strong fucking men, and they were like, "Oh my god, dude!" And they're carrying it out to go put it in the crate, and put that motherfucker and ship that thing out to Utah for Post Malone trucking. Yeah,
I picked it up with no speakers in it, like just one corner. I was like, ooh, that's heavy.
It is a lot of 2-inch acrylic and 3/4 inch acrylic, and it's a monster. But yeah, Ben's used acrylic. There's certain applications like we can use it on parts of his windshield because it's okay if they look a little fucked up. It's the fucking big metal hearse, so it's cool. But like, I can't make any acrylic bonds, right? So acrylic should be better than wood
because it's stronger.
It's harder, it's denser, it's heavier boxes. You could build a really shitty box and then just add a bunch of weight to it and it would perform better. Or bolt the fuck out of it to a vehicle and that would make it perform better.
That's why, like, if you look at some of the loudest vehicles ever, or like the most efficient vehicles ever, they're all steel everything front to back. Oh god, what's his name? The Death Tahoe. Nick Hutchison.
Yeah,
the Hutchison. All steel, super loud, no power. The first all steel enclosure I saw was a Panda at USAC Finals 2013. Did like a 167 with one amp hooked up to one coil of one sub. Did like 167, no wall.
I gotta say, I don't have the resources to do it. Maybe I will build that up. I want to see someone doing it all aluminum. Thick aluminum should be more dead to sound than steel.
Oh man, there are guys
Well,
all
Scott
over the world
Owens.
that are like that would scream in your face that MDF is the best thing to build a box out of.
I almost got into it with someone yesterday, but I was having a really bad day, and I was about to go in, and I was like, stop.
I mean, you want rigidity and micro sympathetic vibration resistance. So
I was like, because he was saying
I'm pretty-
that MDF
Aluminum
was,
should be great. So here's
I'm
a
pretty
fun
sure
thing.
that-
I got a guy that is a machinist, and he was like, "Hey, send me the files, and I'll shape one of those box faces for you out of aluminum." And I TIG weld a little bit, self-taught TIG welder with like, I'm sure a real TIG welder guy would be like, his welds look like shit. But I made at least $200 an hour on everything that I've ever TIG welded. And I think they look really good when I'm done. And I don't think they're full of bubbles. And all that shit is still together. So fuck them. But I want to build an all aluminum truck box and polish the fuck out of it. Imagine just a beautiful gleaming, there it is, 4 relentless 8s and 7,000 watts.
man,
and
I really need to start using this
Sexy.
access to this machine shop that I got. I really need to start doing some cool shit.
do it.
Well,
'Cause
you're
I thought-
signing in the wrong software.
Okay.
I know. I mean, I wouldn't be doing it. I'd have to get Brandy's stepdad is an upper at a big machine shop, and they've got, you name it, they got it. Multiple
fucking
$1 million
rad.
machines, blah blah blah. Like I didn't realize how big the building was until I went there one day, because he like has a corner of the building as like a garage with a lift in it and stuff. And we were looking at something, and we walked out into the machine shop to get some parts to make the metal rings for my Tahoe. He's like, "Yeah, I think we got some scrap that'll work." We walk in, and I look over, and there's a whole big rig in the building, like off in a corner, trailer and all. And I was like, "Oh, this building is way bigger than I thought." I didn't even notice this big rig in here for the first 10 minutes of being in there. He's like, yeah. He's like, if we're thinking about it, he's like, the concrete's poured. We're thinking about expanding another 50,000 square feet that way. We're just not sure about it yet. Chill out, Rick.
50,000 square feet. We have like 1,400 square feet.
Yeah, I know. My shop is like 100.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Every now and then I get people who are like, I'm just a backyard builder, blah, blah. I was like, bro, I don't know where you think I'm building stuff, but it's under a carport in South Louisiana with no air conditioner.
Use the machine shop. Does anyone have experience with carbon fiber?
No air conditioner.
A little bit. I've done a bit of carbon fiber. I worked at a fiberglass plant for a couple of years, and I built molds was my primary function there. So we did a little bit of stuff that we'd build molds for carbon fiber, and then they would give us the materials and we'd build test parts to make sure that what we were going to supply them was correct. So I've done a little bit of carbon fiber.
Is that suitable for enclosures? Because it could be really cool.
It need to be thick as fuck. And I mean, that's the thing is it has to be whatever the fuck it is, as long as it's really thick and stout and not flexing or resonating and not permeable by fucking air.
That's
the thing about
why I was
MDF.
going to go with that
That's
MDF
when-
thread yesterday. I was
When
like,
people
how are you
like,
going to
MDF,
say?
And I like the way MDF sounds, but you like it to be not as fucking loud. You want it to be heavier and muffled, and
That's-
like I use MDF on my router table because
As
I
a
can
vacuum
put a sheet of birch
table.
on there, and my fucking gantry going 400 inches per fucking minute won't push a sheet of 1 inch off the fucking table because
That's exactly where I was going to
the
go with
MDF
that.
is so permeable by air that it sucks right fucking through.
The first time I saw that was, I didn't believe it. He was like, I was like, hey, man, because he's like, hey, let's load this birch on the CNC. It was at Andrew's shop in California. I'm like, oh, you got the MDF on there? He's like, yeah, that's the vacuum top. I'm like, the fuck you mean vacuum top? He's like, yeah, it sucks air through it. I was like I think he could hear my brain not processing that properly. I'm like, wait, what? And so he put like a little piece on the table. He's like, all right, grab it. I said, okay. He turned on the vacuum. He's like, all right, now grab it. I was like, what the fuck is that? I had no clue that it was the only thing that MDF isn't just 100% permeable is that one little thin layer.
Yeah. That's why
No,
back in the day we
no, no,
coated
no.
them with fiberglass.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know
If-
that. Like that's why people coat enclosures in fiberglass was to fix that, and it made things louder.
Yeah.
So like they'll do it now with birch for no reason. So you're
Yes.
just wasting
Now-
time now.
Yeah.
When I really realized that MDF was super permeable by air, right? Living down in Sacramento, fucking sea level, just over an hour away is Tahoe, and it's fun as fuck to go party in Tahoe. And I always had sealed boxes in my vehicles. You drive to Tahoe and you have an MDF box, you do not have a pressure issue in your enclosure. The air is going to just pull right through that motherfucker either way it needs to go. But when I had an acrylic box, in my vehicle and we're driving up there and I never noticed shit. My beat always pounded. Everything sounded fine. There was never a fucking issue ever. And then I had an acrylic box and I was like, something's going wrong as we're going up the fucking hill. I'm like, dude, I think my amp is fucked up. Something's weird. And my buddy in the back seat is like, hey man, your woofer's fucked up. Look at that. And I looked back at it and I thought it was locked up.
Because it was like pushed out. What?
And I was like,
I would have
what
never
the
thought
fuck?
about that.
And then my other buddy's like, it's the air pressure. And I was like, oh shit, it might be. And got my glove box. I handed him a Phillips head. He took a screw out. Psst, sub went back to normal. He put the screw back in. Beat sounded
That's
great.
wild.
We rocked
That's
out the rest of the
crazy.
way. And I was like, holy shit, that's crazy. And then on
That's
our way
crazy
home,
that you
we're driving
made it
down
that
and I'm
airtight.
all, oh shit, look at that. And the sub was all pulled in. Got out the screwdriver. My buddy pulled the screw out. And then when I got home, it stayed that way. The last 45 minutes of the drive, and it was still pressurized. And it held that seal. MDF will never fucking do that.
I mean,
Come
that
on.
makes sense because the fact that the only point that could have leaked at that point is the connection between the sub and the box because when you welded the acrylic together, it made a perfect seal.
I mean, if I build a box out of MDF, it's going to be perfectly fucking sealed other than the MDF material itself.
Yeah.
On our vacuum table on our machine, to create better vacuums so that we can put smaller parts on it without being concerned about them coming off. And when I mean smaller, I mean like I can put this on my fucking table and machine it and not be worried about it throwing the thing off my fucking table, leaving the whole rest of it wide open. And so we will use like a silicone caulking material around the edges of the material all the way around so that we don't lose any extra vacuum pressure out the side.
So it's just pulling straight through. But no, that was the exact argument that I was gonna go to in that thread with that dude yesterday. I'm like, so you're telling me the permeable material that can be used as a vacuum tabletop is louder than? I'm like, okay, bud.
Oh, I've heard worse though. I don't know if you were involved in the thread. Some guy was trying to say OSB was the best.
No, I
he
missed
was
that one.
probably trolling.
Had to be, right?
had
to
to
be.
He worked in
there's-
construction, and no, he was hardcore. He came back. This went on for multiple days.
Well, Drew, that
He said, I built tons of boxes out of it, and it's strong. It's stronger than whatever. Like strong doesn't mean rigid and machinable. Like it can bend like this and not break. That doesn't mean it's better for a woofer box.
What's up, Steve?
Right.
I was gonna say those the JL. What's that sub box called?
Stealth
they make?
box.
No. The big boy one.
Oh, the
Yeah.
show?
The home audio.
The home
sub box.
audio.
Oh,
13
the Gotham.
W7.
The Gotham.
The Gotham.
Yeah, that's all layered fiberglass, right?
Yep, that is.
Those are all,
mean,
hand
2
layered.
inches thick and 3 inches thick, and yeah, that thing's amazing.
Yep.
So that's probably as close to
$20,000.
a carbon fiber box as probably ever has been made. By
Well, they could make
It's
that
not the
exact
same, but
thing
I
out
mean,
of all carbon fiber and have
Sure.
very similar results. Now,
but
here's
it
the thing:
costs
is this
10
is
times
what would make the biggest difference. So, like, let's say you built that exact same box out of fucking solid steel. You poured fucking
Like a crucible.
more. Like a cast
Yeah.
steel box of it.
and you put that would perform just as well as the fiberglass version of it, as long as they are identically stable. Meaning if they were both bolted to a floor, right? Let's say you made it out of carbon fiber and somehow it magically saved hundreds of pounds. It wouldn't flex. It wouldn't resonate. It wouldn't have acoustic differences. The difference would be, is the motherfucking sub wobbling around the box?
Yeah, because the carbon box would be so much lighter. It would be
if you built it out of solid acrylic, thick enough that it's not going to flex,
or hang it from the ceiling.
Built it out of steel, aluminum, plywood, cement, any of these things doesn't fucking matter. As long as it's not flexing or resonating or leaking like it would if it was fucking MDF, it would, all of the things that it'd be built out of. If you built it out of MDF and it was thick enough that it wasn't flexing and you glazed the inside of it with epoxy or fiberglass resin so that it wouldn't fucking leak, and they were all identical and they were all appropriately bolted down to the surface, even if the thing only weighed 10 fucking pounds, as long as that motherfucker isn't wobbling around, they're all going to sound the fucking same.
Yep.
And I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
That was one of the dude's arguments yesterday. Is that he's like, "Oh, I tested it. The MDF box was louder. I built it in the exact same way." He listed out. I'm like, okay, and it's like you said, the MDF box would have been 30 pounds heavier. It could be louder because it's not moving in the vehicle and losing acoustical energy.
Right. That comes down to the scientific method of tracking all your variables.
So I asked him. I said, "Hey, do you have data sheets on this, or like, do you have anything?" He said, "No." He's like, "I'm just telling you it happened." I'm like, okay, so you're using the trust me bro method. Got it.
And what that means is that he's fucking lying. Yeah. Nobody would go, I'm going to build this exact thing out of wood.
I'm going to test all this and not track anything.
And I'm not going to take any fucking data down at all. No.
Nope.
You guys argue with the dumbest fucking people. It's amazing.
But the bad part is this person isn't like...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
But here's the reason why we would have this conversation is because these assholes...
I get tagged in it.
Right. These assholes go in and go, oh, Gately's not building his boxes out of the right shit because I built some shit out of fucking pine. And
I used OSB once, and that shit bang, bro.
Yeah, no, I built my shit out of pine, and it wasn't that good. And it should be exactly the same as birch because it has the same amount of layers. And so, therefore, all his boxes are wrong. Fuck him. And it's what are you supposed to do? You'd be like, you are a fucking idiot and a liar, and you're wrong. And you go, and this is why I know you're fucking wrong. You have no fucking data, and you can't not say anything. If you don't explain or defend yourself at all, then some people are like, that must mean that guy's right. Because most fucking people, HDF is the same thing as MDF. It's the same shit. In case you're wondering. I know. People are fucking disappointed all over, mad at me. The whole fucking thing. One guy was like, I prefer the sound to MDF, but birch is good stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then I said that shit, and he said, I'm going to go play Call of Duty. Cool shit, bro. So anyway, call him as I fucking see him. But the reality is that when somebody is blatantly full of shit and they're bad-mouthing what you do, the materials you're using, the products you're selling, and you know because you collected all the data, you did all the fucking front-end homework of this shit. I didn't decide to use birch because it was cheaper or it was way fucking harder to work with. Initially, I didn't think it looked that great. The function became the form. It looked like plywood. I'm like, that looks pretty cool. And I shaped it a little bit. Wow, that's kind of cool looking. It's lighter. I'm saving some weight and I could do this. And that's kind of cool. And then the shit got better results. So I started finding a way to work with it.
Trying to find a picture of how thick it is.
See, that's the thing. You've been through the trenches of messing with materials and techniques.
All of the fucking materials.
And then someone who hasn't, but lies that said they did, will come on and say the opposite of what you have mountains of data to support. And it's like, do you have to defend yourself? And, in this day and age, I don't know the right approach and when you should engage.
So you see where the baffle mounts, I think that's 2.5. And then all this is like 3-inch thick.
Wow.
Hand laid fiberglass.
That is fucking badass.
That's got to take forever to.
But look at that paint.
Oh yeah, because you couldn't do that all in one. They can't do it all in one laminate. It would have thermal issues, and it would fracture, and it would fucking make fire. It'd be a fucking nightmare. So it must take days. They might go, I put a little hand lay in this one, and then I do that one, and then I do that one, and then I do that one. They come back in the next day, and they go, all right, fucking.
I don't know.
12 more of them, and they're in there rolling it out, and they're making sure there's no air, and they fucking, all right, next one.
So I don't know how proprietary it is, because I know how many they've sold now of the Gothams. And it's more than I thought, but the number is like really high for how long it takes to make one.
It's got it. I mean,
he said it took like a month for each one.
That makes sense.
That's what he was saying. It took like 30 days from start to finish.
Imagine the footprint of shop space you need.
It's huge.
If you were selling 10 of them a day on average, is that a realistic number?
No.
Guesstimate?
No.
It's probably like one a day.
No.
No, it's probably not even one a day. It's probably less than one a day average.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's say you were selling 10 a month. If you were selling 10 a month and it takes a month to build one, you have to have the space to have 10 of them actively being worked on daily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
one has to sit and cure, and that could sit over here on this bench while you use this.
And you're trying, and then they're doing finish work, and these things are gloss black,
and
shiny.
Jail said they're not giving no discount. So even at 10 a month, that's $200,000 a month in just those 10.
Yeah, any discount.
Yeah, but when you got 10 people working on it, they're probably.
I think it's a team of 5, maybe.
Yeah, I would think 4 or 5 guys,
So
but
5 guys full time.
Well, because it's not just the Gothams. They have the Gothams, the Fathoms. There's 5 or there's 2 that are like the hyper. They're like that. There's the 2 sub one, and then a single sub version. That's $10,000. It's half the price. And then there's a couple smaller.
Where are these customers, and do they need a relay box?
Dude, they're.
You know what?
Yes, they're out there, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What I visited a dealer today. He needed a single box. He was like, hey, I need one of your 2019 plus 4.8 boxes. All my guys are tied up. None of them have a fucking car that can pick this thing up. Can you drive it over to me? And I was like, fuck it. I'll help him out. And I went in and visited with him for a bit. And I went into his shop, and he had a lot of cheap-ass shit. And I'm like, how's business? And he's like, it's slower. And I'm like... And he's like, how about you? And I'm like, I'm super duper slammed. We're totally buried. We have a ton of work to do. And he's like, man, it's like so slow at like all of my shops. I'm like, all of your shops are loaded up with the cheapest gear you can possibly stuff into it. And he's like, wouldn't that help for people that are tighter on money? I'm all, no.
Not because they're the first ones to not have money.
The people that are tight on money that want to come and buy the cheapest thing they can buy, they have zero fucking money and they're not buying anything. Wealthy people that are like, I can't afford to take my side-by-side out as often as I'd like to because funds are tight.
Yeah, I can't afford to break my $20,000 toy for the 9th time this year. I should probably do something else this week.
You know what? I'm gonna go get a little bit of beat put in my truck because I've been wanting to kind of do that anyway now that I got time. So instead of spending $5,000 or $10,000 on a weekend going out and fucking around in a side-by-side, breaking it, buying more shit, paying for fucking fuel and the whole fucking thing, or taking their fucking boat out for fucking $10,000.
Well, you can't even look at a boat without spending $1,000. I check.
I check around, right? And those guys, and you know what? Every single one of those guys that has $100,000, $150,000 hobby, if they pull back on that 50%, they still got money to spend 10 or 15 grand on beat. So yeah, times are tough. I'm not taking the boat out as much. I did just put this badass sound system in my truck, though.
Yeah, man. Yeah, business is
slow
down a little bit.
They aren't buying the cheapest shit. They're still buying the best shit you can buy. Those guys don't want that shit. That's my kind of customer base. It's guys that like to buy the best shit possible. The guys that buy a bunch of fucking JL and DD and Sundown. Not guys that buy Scar and CT Sounds and Memphis and this shit.
Hold on now. Hold. You watch your mouth about Memphis. Don't you do that to Voltron.
I was a
don't
Memphis
do that to Voltron.
Selling Memphis dealer. I sold a ton of Memphis product. I fucking killed it with Memphis. And then they started making fucking garbage. And they have zero testing, zero development.
Look, bro, you don't do that to Voltron.
So
didn't do that to
fucking
you.
sad. Man, they were awesome. I fucking did super good with Memphis for like 5 years.
Bro, I loved Rockford. Loved it. Now, the stuff Rockford sells now is the same equipment I ran in my Cobra 10 years ago. The exact same equipment.
It is pretty wild to me that they like literally have
Stop
not came out
changing
with
things.
anything for a long time, but they still sell a lot of it.
No, well,
They
the
sell a lot
crazy
of
part
the
is like the Power Series
bikes.
amps are so far ahead that they are still ahead of most of the industry as far as like efficiency and features and just quality. They're still ahead of most people. They just don't have a 10,000 watt amp
because there's no money in that.
No,
At
it's
least
like
not the low.
Well, there's no huge money in that, but
Yeah.
But I'm really happy with how much money I make off of my $7,000 amp.
Yeah.
I only bought a stack of 50 of those to start, and I'm only getting 100 more, and I'm making changes to it already.
but you're also not at the race to zero. You're not trying to make as little as possible.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing. And then another thing about that visit, I looked around the shop and I was like, dude, it's a disaster in here. You got too much shit in here. Throw all these fucking shitty goddamn $15 prefabs. Throw them in your dumpster. You make zero money on those. Throw them away. Throw them the fuck away. You make zero money and you make shitty customers. You make unhappy customers that go, this sounds like shit. And it's this shit box. Get this thing the fuck out of here. Clean up this fucking shit. It's like, some people like it being kind of messy. I'm all, no, they don't like messy. They like it to look like a wholesale shop. That's different. Having it look like it's wholesale to the public, having pallets and shit racked up, stacks of things. But the customers that you think are coming in that think they're saving by buying from somebody that has bulk and has stacks of gear and stacks of wire, that's different than the guys. Nobody's like, I'm glad it's filthy in here. I feel like I'm getting a deal on this shit.
What product does Ed have on hand? I bet he has some of these. Boy, look at the spark stuff in the Kicker Bronco. Boy, look at it.
Yeah. Fannies are back in production now. They're not super fast. We're taking a few to the show this weekend.
Man, them fannies spin fast. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, production isn't that fast. We only have one employee. Rich and I are prepping for the show this weekend, so we just have one employee building fannies right now.
Popping.
We got relay boxes on the shelf. The conductor, the ground distribution block, that's an ammeter. That will be back in production next week. I only have parts enough to build one to take to the show this weekend.
Oh, speaking of,
which show are you going to? You're going to TDH?
Yeah,
okay.
in Virginia.
Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking of production, I can finally export files in that file format that you kept asking me for that I didn't know how to make.
Hey, Bobby, why don't you buy a flight to Virginia this weekend? Let's go, bro.
Because
I'm going to be there.
It's the same reason why he's talking about not going to Aggie.
Yeah. I have a mountain of shit.
Dude.
I have the barbecue is got to be my priority. And I got so much shit to do. So
I don't even have a priority, but I have a mountain of shit to do. That's why I'm
mountain
going to that wedding
shit.
this weekend. I'm flying in Friday night. The wedding is Saturday night. I'm going home like Sunday.
There you go.
I'm just hoping the weather holds up for us, Ed, because it looks it's been bouncing back and forth like an 80% chance of rain on Saturday.
Last year wasn't too good either. Cold and windy.
No.
But
Hey, so
We'll
real
see.
quick, Christopher Russ said, are those amps plastic mounting feet? I'd recommend isolating them from the steel. Why? Why would you recommend that?
Oh, the kicker amps? Yeah, they were thick plastic, but you can explain why anyway. But
So,
they are thick plastic.
if your box is built proper, the subs are not seeing any fucking resonance or vibration or anything else.
there
The
it
people
is.
with the
Actually,
rubber
that's-
mounting feet on their fucking amps, they're
Down.
probably causing more damage to the amplifiers, if it's any. But if their box is fucking resonating at all,
yeah.
then
That's
one,
a
it
question
shouldn't
I
even-
see posted a lot.
I don't understand. Like, if not, is because he thinks they're going to be grounded or what? Like,
No,
Maybe.
he thinks it's resonance.
vibration.
There's these like feeble like explanations that people have. Oh, so yes, he's talking about grounding.
yeah,
Yes.
that's what I
So if
thought.
there was some kind
said
of
if they're
electrical
not
issue
metal.
on the cage, then okay.
Well, older amps had that. I don't know. Do modern amps have anything on the heatsink at all? Any ground or anything running through?
I'm actually not sure. I haven't looked at the. As many
I'm
amps
sure
I've
they
had
thought
open
about
lately,
this.
you'd think I would know. I remember.
Okay. So now
I'm sure
that makes me
Kicker's
go,
thought about
oh,
this.
maybe he's right about that. But
LTO bank always, because headway is just no.
Well, I think some old amps used to do that, but I don't think it's.
yeah, that'd be an old amplifier thing. But
Or if you had a broken amp.
As far as the Bronco
or
goes,
if you have a little bit of a broken amp that is still working.
the
then
Bronco's
that's the
electrical
thing, right?
system is actually not the stereo is not in any way connected to the Bronco's electrical system. Zero connections, none, not one.
So they charge separately.
It is
hook up the
completely
charger,
separate.
all
Yep.
that
It's a
stuff or whatever.
90 amp excess power supply,
There you go.
and it's a 480 amp hour lithium bank, and it's like they're not even using the Ford radio anymore. They tried to use it, and it had noise in the radio. They were like, "Fuck it, just Bluetooth to it."
Stupid Ford. You know, I did a TV show, Car Wars.
I
We did the
remember
lighting
Car
company.
Wars.
And it was sponsored by Ford. So we had at that year, that was 07 or 08, probably 07. Ford supplied the Ford Focus of that year. I got to meet the guy that designed the Focus and the Explorer and all that sort of thing. And I think that might have been the year they came out with the Ford Sync system or whatever it was. And one of the rules in building the car was to tie it in to the
makes
Ford
sense.
system, and it was like,
Now
man,
they might have got it figured out. Just
Yeah.
whenever I was there, they were like, yeah, we're just gonna not use it, we're gonna bypass it. Because one of my big reasons was I thought it was a good idea was, man, this is gonna be a lot louder than Ford may think it's gonna be. Like, this is gonna be ignorantly loud.
yeah.
Like, this is gonna do a 60 with no front doors on the truck. This is gonna be loud.
Is it even finished?
It plays.
But it's not finished.
I mean,
Fucking
no, it's
play
finished.
When I was at Kicker, I was mad.
It
bro.
wasn't.
No, it's about as finished as it can be. I think they're doing final testing, as far as I'm aware, because like it was technically finished at SEMA. It's done, minus a few little nitpick things. Like, I'm trying to think what all I can say. It's played
We can
on
always
full
talk
power.
offline.
It's played on full power, as is.
Okay.
But
That was-
it's really beautiful.
yeah.
It's a super nice build. Those
Yeah.
guys that built it were very knowledgeable, super duper nice guys.
Yeah.
He
Tim
had a
is-
fucking sick ass OBS Chevy that was really beautiful.
God, it's
it was
so
such
hot.
a nice build. I was like, this is fucking nice.
Yeah, I don't think he
And,
realizes how nice that thing really is.
It's
Was that
really
in
good.
the museum or something in the back?
No, it's in
No,
the back.
it was
It's
the
Tim's.
guy the build guy in the back. So he had it parked in the fabrication area where they build.
Right.
It was really cool.
I'm gonna pull up a picture of it because
Yeah,
Zach
that's
sent
one
me a
thing
picture
that's
of
cool
it.
about Kickers. Is like they have like right in the middle of one of their warehouses is like a full-on shop to build.
Oh yeah.
Just build cars. It's pretty cool.
Oh, and it's like a massive install bay. Like, it's huge.
Oh yeah, it's
Here's
what
kind
you
of a
would want.
picture.
It's like all the room.
Yeah, they
you
had the
need.
guy over there
Fucking
that
awesome.
was like making custom test surrounds. Like, all right, I'm gonna make this, and they like thermal form
Yeah,
a
the
rubber
vacuum- the
surround, and then
vacuum
they
form.
test it, and then they'd modify it a little tiny bit, and they'd make a new mold, and they'd fucking test another one, and I was like,
Look,
How about that? I need a surround molding machine. So,
look, that guy's like, what is going on?
Yeah, they have
yeah,
a
super
vacuum,
pretty truck. I
vacuum
really like
former's
that, like
pretty
root beer brown.
Yep.
I've told this story before. When I was a kid, my dad built a '69 Corvette LT1, and it was root beer brown, gold, and chrome. So it had like the chrome that was like, it looked like gold chrome, and it had chrome,
That's
and
Tim's
then
truck.
it had root beer brown, fucking
Tim Smith.
everywhere through the engine bay and other parts of the vehicle, and it was fucking beautiful. So I kind of have this thing for the root beer brown color.
Dude,
that-
I didn't think it was the first time I saw it. Was my second time at Kicker before the Bronco thing. It was sitting there, and Tim was showing me. He's like, "That's a nice black." And like, look, like that's a black, like a black brown thing. And he turned because it's kind of dark without the lights on.
Yeah.
Like he turned the lights on. I was like, "Oh, boy, that's hot."
it's-
Like, someone
it's-
gets it. It's a negative camber truck. It's gonna be super nice. So, negative camber is a club. There's like negative
Bobby,
camber.
speaking of kicker, when you did your tour, you obviously went through the museum at the front with all the cars. That one, I don't know what kind of car it is. It's a newer sedan. So
The Cruise?
Is it a Cruise? Yeah,
The
the
Chevy Cruise?
That thing is sick, dude. I really like that car.
Dude,
you not even remember seeing it? Oh, man. You missed such a cool install.
I mean, I saw every fucking thing there. I mean, we were there all day.
Dude, Kicker's a lot. You have to go multiple times, even attempt to see half the stuff there. There's so
Let's
much.
go.
I'm down. I went like 5 times last year. I'll go. I'm ready to go back.
I'm probably going to stop on the way back from Slam this year, so if you want to join.
I would love to get out there. One of my ideas, we didn't even talk about like the documentary idea or anything.
Oh,
I
man.
had one idea. So I had the TV show opportunity, and one of the ideas, one of the pitches was to go cross country, kind of make it a travel show / car build off show, and travel to different shops and stop at places like Kicker. And that week, that episode would be a travel show about what's around Kicker and actually doing a tour of Kicker, but also challenging Kicker to take one of their vehicles out and build something that week to compete with it. And it not just SPL competition, but it could be
anything.
It could be sound cue. It could be install quality or show, whatever it is. And then the next week,
just make something up for the show.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be big places like Kicker. It would be then, go the entire country, get out to California, go to Gately Audio, and then go over to SMD headquarters, and you showcase those guys and what they got going on, and you challenge them. You're like, all right, I'm in your house, and I brought this vehicle. I'm challenging you to, whatever it is this week.
So, if you're going to be at finals, I am positive Kicker will be there, I assume. But if you do want to go on a tour, you should reach out to Bill Braun.
We're in contact with a couple of the guys there, so
someone commented.
Oh,
you're talking about being at finals.
Yeah, if you just show up, they'll probably give you a quick little tour. But if you can arrange with somebody to take you through, somebody has to make sure they have time for you to do that. I
wasn't telling you who to contact. You got that.
Oh.
No, yeah. I mean,
is it open to the general public?
The front is. So the front museum is wide open. You can go in there and do all you want.
Yeah, the museum's open and anybody go in there. But I wouldn't honestly bother any of the Kicker guys to try to set up like a full-on tour. I mean, those guys are super busy. Like I don't want to sound like a dick, but like unless you're like Bobby Gately or something like that, like
that's just whatever. That's what I was always told. That's what I always see them tell people. Whenever they ask on like this live stream for Kicker, email us, reach out to us. We'll see if we can set something up. That's what they said. Yeah,
have you guys ever been to Jay Leno's garage?
Have you?
No.
I haven't, but that's an idea. Is apparently it's not open to the public, but if you email him and say you're a car enthusiast, and like ahead of time, he'll arrange for you to be able to get in there.
Dude, there are some wild private collections that I would love to see. Like that's obviously one of them. There's a private collection in Baton Rouge that a lot of people aren't aware of that I was fortunate enough to go see a couple years ago. It was just
there's one here in South Philly,
insane.
The Simeone. And that's supposed to be amazing.
This one is. It's not only private. It's a very few people even know it exists because it's on the corner of two major, like decently sized highways, and I passed by it hundreds of times.
There you go. So don't hesitate to message those guys or email them.
Yeah, I mean, but don't be offended if they're like, no, we're busy. Yeah. But no, so I was friends with this local constable who was also a car guy. He's like, hey, I'm working on this 60-something car. You want to come by Friday night? I'm like, yeah, I'll come check it out. I pull up to the gate of like a construction business. I was like, this is weird. He lets me in the gate, and inside the back warehouse was a full 100 cars. Whole row of like old school Chargers, whole row of old school Camaros, a real NASCAR, a functional and time correct 60s gas station in the building. It was just mind-blowing.
Crazy. What part of South Philly are you in, Ed? I didn't know you were in Pennsylvania.
Well, our office here is outside the city. We're like 25 miles north of the city. Where I live, I'm 25 miles away.
Away.
I'm right near Manayunk.
Wait,
And that's right on the river, maybe 2 miles north of the Art Museum in Boathouse Row. So if anyone's a Rocky fan and knows the Art Museum where the statue was and all that, I'm like 2 miles north of that.
you're in Phoenix, Rhonda?
No. Oh, Rhonda.
Rhonda's in.
Yeah, I think Rhonda's in Phoenix.
Oh shit!
Yeah, I got a
was
bunch of family in Allentown area.
I had for some reason I had no idea.
That's an hour north here.
If I'd have known you were in Phoenix, we'd have definitely got some beer or something. Shit, while I was there.
So, do you ever participate in any of the street battle scene out there? Because I know Philly is one of the cities.
Bro, if
That's
if
kind of
I see
in that.
Ed on a live one day in the background of a street battle,
I've been there. So where I live
You
is
should.
actually.
I mean, your products would fit in there perfectly.
And a couple of the guys, it's we've sold a few things here and there to them, but I'm basically in walking distance to the Belmont Plateau, and that's famous for Will Smith. Place called the Plateau is where everybody goes. It's in summertime.
Okay.
The song.
Sure.
So in that video, you see him and DJ Jazzy Jeff on the trailer. They go through the Belmont Plateau. So it's a place for picnics. It's a park and whatnot. And at least twice a year, a lot of the guys will get out to parts of the plateau and do some battles. And I've
Nice.
gone down there a few times. And if you remember Trippy, I don't know if he's been up to Philly.
Trippy's Hummer.
Yeah. A couple of the TH guys are in the Delaware, Jersey, Philly greater area. Some of those guys are involved. I've only been to a couple of them, but I feel at home with that kind of cars and stuff going on, and it's great.
I just know that it's one of the main. It's like one of the main contributing cities to street battles. It's like New York, Philly, Miami, and those I think are the three big ones. But New York and Philly,
those Southern boys. That's the whole thing down there.
Street battle, and dude, I tell you, the trunk battles here in the Baton Rouge area in Louisiana, it is a party. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I need to check that out.
They quit inviting
check
me.
that out too.
They quit inviting my brother.
I really would love to go to. I want to go to Aggie Land. I'd love to go to
Dude,
CDH.
we're partying outside.
Trunk
battle.
Street battle things because I
Trunk battle.
Like that.
So
that would be another cool part of the TV show idea of traveling.
Yeah, to hit up those events that are the cultural thing.
And go to local events, so you see how it's done in that area, and then go to a different area with a completely different type of show, and making your way out west and seeing the West Coast.
They do the loudest of Baton Rouge and loudest of Louisiana and all that. They quit inviting me. Me and my brother quit finding out about it. We quit finding out about them before the show. We only hear about them after now.
Did you guys ever watch that Vice episode that they did a few years back on car audio and finals?
Yes.
The Cube was in it. Did
you watch I remember that.
I did not see that.
Yep.
Okay, well, that would be something to watch because that's almost kind of along the lines of they could have made that show way more expansive. They could have made episodes, but they all just kind of jammed it into what car audio finals was about.
Right.
But
TV show coverage on car audio is very lacking.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like one of those things where I feel like a show could almost blow up our community.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everybody loves music, but not a lot of people.
Jerry, I'm gonna stall your comment, and we'll circle back to it right before we get off. I got a couple other ones starred too. We'll circle back. So, but I forgot MTX was also in Phoenix. That's crazy. I somehow ended up with the owner or the CEO of whatever company owns MTX on my Facebook as a friend because I was at SEMA. And I was waiting for an Uber or something. I was just death scrolling Facebook, and it said, "Oh, flying into SEMA on the jet." And I looked; it's a private jet. I'm like, "What the fuck is this dude on my Facebook like this?" Click. He owns MTX. What? Who is this dude?
Lloyd Ivy's son, isn't it?
I think his last name was Ivy, Jonathan Ivy or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, his dad is the one that started it back in the day.
Totally missed it. Did not see it at all. We went to dinner. I guess it was the last day of the jail thing at a place that had a grown-up slide in it. It was goofy.
And all the big companies need a museum like Kicker. Maybe they do. They're just not very well known. Can you go to MTX and check out their stuff? Go to Rockford.
Right.
Do they have anything to check out?
I know at the JL in Phoenix there isn't because that's just their electronics building. That's all they do with electronics development and testing. But I think they're working on one at the Miramar location though, like a place where people can go and see stuff.
Yeah.
You guys know what got released the other day? Off topic, but we've talked about this before. That the newest version of Chat GPT.
Oh, I did see about Chat GPT 4 got released. You can use it if you're a paying member currently. You can't get it for free yet. Or Bing.
Yeah,
Is that AI?
Yeah,
AI.
the chat AI bot thing.
I heard a story and it was quite humorous, where they got the AI had to, I don't know what it had to do, but at one of the steps of what it was going to do, it had to log into a site that had the CAPTCHA. So
I saw that yesterday.
It hired someone. It went like through
online to
it hired a guy to bypass it for him. The guy said, "You're not a robot, are you?" And it said, "No, I have glaucoma."
It lied. It learned to lie. Yes.
Right. Exactly. And hired this guy to bypass the CAPTCHA for it.
Let me see if I still have this.
Dude.
Oh no, it's happening. It's coming. We're all doomed.
Yeah, it does some super wild stuff now. Like it can like read. I mean, this is dumb, but it can read a meme, and it can tell you what is funny about the meme. Like it'll break down the joke. It does like a lot of real wild stuff.
Even Data on Star Trek couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you would say that, Ed. You're the right guy to have that response to that, and I feel that. I watched Star Trek Next Generation, and I really like Data. He was probably my favorite character.
I watch it every night, over and over to fall asleep.
You just stay on that shit.
I still do.
You still sleep on top of your bandpass box, fucking 25 hertz.
That's it. Get the sound of the warp core, just soothing.
Okay, so Chat GPT is so and this is the last one, and I barely know how to use the Chat GPT file because you have to prompt it to get it to do some stuff. And anyway, its thing for writing it got well known for being able to write functional code. So this SQ guy came out with an app to like play different like left, right, center, whatever. I'm like, that's simple. I can make that with Chat GPT. Guarantee it. This is 25 to 30 minutes of effort with Chat GPT. And it is not pretty, but it is almost functional. So this is an emulator. There's the app. Sub, mid-bass, mid-range tweeter. Currently it's a slider to go from left, center, right. Like if I loaded this onto a phone, it would play and it would do what I'm telling it to do. And this is like 25 minutes in Chat GPT, all this code.
Wow, you just told it to build an app the way you wanted it.
I had to like kind of prompt it a little bit, like I need to build an app to do this. Blah blah blah.
AI designed enclosures. What do you think?
I mean, if you could, AI eventually will take over the world. Something doesn't matter. I mean, amazing. I'm sure eventually it could figure it out. But coding, obviously is much more cut and paste, if you know what I mean. But like it already knew. So like I explained what I wanted it to do, and it said it'll read back. Okay, so you want to do an app that'll play music, left pan, left center pan, and it's like wait, like I didn't tell it the word pan like that. That's terminology in stereo panning. Like it just knew that, and I was like, man, this thing is.
But did someone have to teach it that on the back end somewhere beforehand?
I think it was a part of the learning model where it studied all this data.
Gave it a dictionary or an encyclopedia or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly how it's done, but apparently this is a 10 billion, things it's learned. Chat GPT 4 is like 1 trillion or something. It's way more information, way more. Chat GPT 4 is the one that was able to go online and hire a human to do the job it couldn't do and lie to the human about why it was doing it.
That is great. I don't know why I find that charming.
I don't know. I mean, we're just Skynet, bro.
End of the world.
Skynet. We're getting real close.
I'm definitely not afraid of AI like that.
No,
it's interesting,
but it's gonna happen. Skynet will take over.
And you know
Most
what?
fears
When it
don't
does,
come
we
true.
won't even realize it's happening. We'll just suddenly vaporize, and that'll be it.
Oh
It's
yeah.
happened already. We're all just living in a
Hey,
We're in the simulation.
fucking.
I mean, that's what they say.
simulations.
That's what they say
No
in
consciousness.
in 2012 when they fired up the Large Hadron Collider for the first time. That
It's
it
the world-
it put us into
uh,
another dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the world ended in 2012. Yeah, I
Yep.
don't know.
Except that 100% explanations for all those things are
Yeah, if they would have said
Humans
2020, I maybe would have been like, yeah.
Mm,
2020 was the year
2012 was an
snapped
okay year. Because
Yeah.
I looked at 2012 to 2020 wasn't so bad, but
out.
Man,
I don't know, all that shit.
2012 was a good one, man. I had a good time in 2012. I was fucking around.
Yeah, because we were in the middle of being transported to another dimension the whole time, Bobby. Gosh.
Like,
Could've
fuck
been.
it, we're out.
Oh, I'm in. Fuck it. Here we are.
That's a good movie, too, 2012.
I do
Kinda.
like disaster movies.
With
No,
the
I
big
loved it. That was a
stupid
great
boat
movie.
that's
I love
dead,
disaster
that's
movies.
kinda
Ooh, have you seen Geostorm with Gerard Butler?
No, is it dumb?
No, it's
That
a
one was decent.
Do not insult Gerard Butler in such a. He would never make a dumb movie, sir.
That one was decent, too.
What Moonfall?
Jerry Butler, my friend hung out with him on the set of Law Abiding Citizen.
That's another great movie.
That's
See,
a fucking badass movie.
He was a cool guy. Apparently, like, he would hang out at craft services with the extras. My buddy was an extra, where Jamie Foxx was like, "Don't talk to me. No one come near me. I'm in."
you
my
know what?
trailer."
I see that.
Yeah,
I see that. Gerard Butler definitely seems like that dude who just
yeah.
be
He has
chill.
pictures just hanging out with beers, like in a side alley in Philly.
So for a while, Baton Rouge, and even still, was a very large movie producing area. Like we have huge, not cinemas. Anyway, big tax break, so there's a bunch of movies being filmed down here. And every now and then, you would just hear stories of like random super famous people just chilling, like in local bars, just hanging out.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, man. I mean, they're just people. In the end of the day, like the biggest example who a lot of people know is T-Pain. You know, he super famous singer and all that.
Auto-tune.
Blah blah blah. He's a car guy. Like has a 240Z drift, 240SX drift car called Pickle Rick. He's even been scammed in the car community, so he's like an official car guy now.
Yeah.
But he's just a dude who just happened to be super famous.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Brushes with fame is always cool. Like being in Philly, you know, I'm at a bar, and outside there's commotion, and right outside the windows, Sylvester Stallone leaning against the glass. And stuff. They were filming. That one was Balboa. My apartment that I was moving into at the time is in a background shot.
Nice. But
So that
what
was
is? Oh, Steven Seagal is a cop in Louisiana.
Oh, I heard that's guy.
Oh my
I
God.
just went down a YouTube rabbit hole of
Me
celebrities
too.
telling stories about Steven Seagal.
Me
Well,
too.
imagine
I fucking
being
got on it for a minute
hammered.
because I'm in the martial arts world, and so people talk about it all the time. And like,
Yeah.
and there's guys that are always like, "I'd love to fight Steven Seagal. I'm pretty sure I'd fuck
He
him
never
up in,
pulled
like,
his
30
punches
seconds."
for the stuntmen.
Yeah,
like, he would
he's a piece of
actually
shit. He would punch him
You're like,
hella
dude,
hard.
come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But how about
Well,
he
Gina
was
Bell
like,
fucked him up pretty bad, but they turned it into way worse than it was. They said he choked him out and he shit himself, but really he just kind of took him down and controlled him and then let him up, and then he was mad and he had like a big vendetta against Gene LaBelle. But the story for years and years was that Gene LaBelle choked him out and he shit himself. So
oh Lord. So yeah. So Rhonda said T-Pain would tell people like instead of 200,000 for a verse, he'll tell them a car he wants. Like I want that car, like a specific like old school. That's the studio, Celtic Studios in Baton Rouge. It's the old Colt plant. It's huge. I guess you mean Steven Seagal. I don't know if he's in Russia, bro.
yeah, he went to Russia.
I
He's
don't
hanging
know if
out
he's
with-
hanging out with Putin. He's
He is,
busy.
dude,
yeah.
Steven, I mean, like growing up in the 80s and 90s, Steven Seagal was the shit, bro.
Bro, I couldn't
Like,
imagine being arrested
His-
by Steven Seagal at some
Under
bar in
siege.
Baton Rouge.
I mean, like
I
the
never
movies,
thought it
the
was that
movies were the
cool.
shit. I don't know. I love.
I
the
know.
movies.
I mean,
8,
some of the
9 years
movies
old.
were. I don't know. Van Damme was way more of a fucking badass.
Who's the other
Oh,
dude
yeah.
that
For sure,
that's a cop
Bloodsport,
that's
I mean,
Yeah.
come on, dude.
oh
Dude, but that
the
movie
bodybuilder.
where
The
Steven
bodybuilder's a
Seagal-
cop. Who is it?
Oh,
The one-
the
one
guy
where-
before Jay Cutler,
Yeah.
Ronnie Coleman.
Yes, he was a cop. The entire time he
Yeah.
was Mr. Olympia, he was a cop.
That's right. Yeah. There
Imagine
was
being
no
pulled over by Mr. Olympia. Sir, I'm
Yeah,
going to
but
need you to
he's
step out the
Cool,
car.
because he was
I'm not
such a
getting out.
cool
Give me your
motherfucker.
door.
He was so funny.
Yeah, he overworked himself. That's
I think I
something.
can barely walk now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Hey, you'll have that. I live 10 minutes away from Celtic Studios. Damn.
Where's that?
That close and still no Max at your shop. What a shame.
I forgot about John Claude Van Damme too, Bobby. That was a good one.
Come on, man.
With the
Kickboxer.
powder in his eyes, and he's like, and his eyes were fucking.
All right, let's get some of these. Would it make sense to do 3 individual Yinlong banks with their own Heltec charge balancer in an attempt to be maintenance free versus 3 in series with 1 balancer? Well, it'd be 3 banks in parallel with 1 balancer, but I don't think so, because the way that the cells still connect, they're still connecting the same. They're just not. You're also decreasing efficiency of the battery doing it that way. If you separate the banks of batteries and you don't connect the individual cells side to side, you're decreasing the efficiency of the battery itself. So
But
Not
if you
familiar with
had,
Hellcat.
like, you lose a little bit of efficiency, but you gain accuracy if each cell is balanced individually. So yes, no,
but
yes,
I don't
no.
I don't know
It'll take
enough.
longer for one balancer to properly balance multiple cells at the same time. It'll take longer.
I don't have
So
enough
that-
data to have a proper answer. Just do one big bang. YOLO. Do a 480 amp hour bank. Passive balance of once
the
and
more
let it go.
gizmos you have, the more gizmos you have that will fail. So you might jump on the fuck yourself wagon.
But think of trying to charge one cell with a charger that's only 300 milliamps versus connecting, 3 or 6 cells all in parallel and using that same 300 milliamp charge to charge.
Oh, it makes sense.
Take longer. That's all balancers are doing.
I would say on this question, the PA style mids only sound like trash because they probably weren't tuned very well.
Yeah,
I know
the issue normally is crossovers, and like you'll see people. It happened today in a thread. People are like, oh, I run 8s and 6s about doors because the 6s play higher, but the 8s play lower. But no, like a mid range should not be playing so far up that an 8 can no longer play. You're so far beyond what the speaker should be playing at that point. So, because just adding a proper crossover to a PA speaker will make it sound so much better. Like, I'm not going to say who it was, but someone with a loud build put a tweak in. I sent them just a bass tune, crossovers only. And he said, man, I've never heard it sound this good. It sounds amazing. This tune is great. But that's just crossovers, dude. It wasn't even tune.
Yeah.
That was just your mids not playing to 20K.
Also, what will be extremely important is appropriate sound deadening in the door or the placement of the driver will help more than. So what I tell customers all the time, when they talk about buying $500 component sets, $1,500 component sets, I'm like, how far are you going into sound deadoning?
Oh, they're like, I'm going to do some Dynamat.
If you want to put $1,000 or $1,500 into some speakers, let's put $500 or $600 into speakers and spend $300 or $400 in sound deadening effort in each door. You will have far better results with the $500 speakers with
installed properly.
Yeah, the install is.
So it's the same thing as woofers and enclosure. It's the same thing.
Same thing. You
can have the baddest compact V3 dread and cone monster of a sub ever and get your face smashed in by a SAV2 because your box is shit and the SAV2 isn't a proper in a gateway enclosure. Exactly. Exactly.
So Ed, do you guys have anything new you're working on that you want to tell us about or okay?
I didn't put up a video of this yet, but I may have mentioned this before. I have the prototype over there somewhere. So I've been working on an illuminated switch panel. Switch panels. I got them somewhere.
You want to go get it? Go get it. Go get your prototype.
I'll just grab a switch.
It's really sexy. It's really sexy.
Well, this is just a standard switch panel. We're working on actually basic ones without acrylic to possibly have our dealers be able to sell on Amazon, and this is aluminum. So currently we machine out of HDPE and put acrylic in there, but now we're going to have aluminum options. So this is the Tahoe size that like Drew has, and then we can do printing on there.
Yep.
But the acrylic insert, I'm going to do frosted border, and the labels that I have usually for like channel 1, 2, 3, 4 will illuminate, and I'll have an RGB controller so you can sequence it and do, you know, coloring effects around there, and you'll actually be able to see illuminated your labels. And if you opt to have a custom label, like a lot of people get sub amps or highs, bass, horn, and get a momentary switch, whatever it is.
I've asked before, what LED are you using generally? Like the
SK6812. I'm using a side of 2 millimeter tall side firing LED.
But it's the SK6812.
Yeah, and instead of using strips, I used strips in the big fat fanny. But for the switch panel, we just did our own circuit board in kind of the shape that I can fit it in there. And so the one design challenge I put upon ourselves is not to increase depth, so that although the acrylic pops out another 3 millimeters in front, it's still this 1/4 inch plate. So there's no depth, nothing in the back that is a backlight. The light all fits within like this pocket, if you can see that pocket.
Yeah.
So I fit it all in there, and the challenge there was diffusing the light to light up the entire border evenly, and I got it very, very close. So that's coming out soon. I have my prototypes, and instead of doing all those circuit boards here, I have surface mount reflow oven. We can do it. It's just that the caps and LEDs on that board are so small. My employees, it would be too much to mass produce them. We actually got an outside source to do our PCBs. Nice. So we're waiting on those to come, and then we can release them.
Very cool.
Yeah. No, I was asking what LED you're using because I started playing around with the IC LED stuff, and I've been using the WS2811 just because they're 12 volt.
Yeah, and these are chip in the actual LED, and they're really cool to play with. And
yeah, I've been having a ton of fun with. I've been ordering different like density LEDs. Like I ordered the super high density, like 3. How dense? I'm about to go find it right now.
Super dense.
Yeah, no, still they're so packed in close to each other.
Yeah,
you have to run 3 meters at a time before you have to do a voltage injection.
Yeah, I have a strip over there where it is all the LEDs are soldered right next to each other.
It's 144 LEDs per meter.
Yeah,
and it's WS2812, so it's 5 volt.
Yeah, but, and there's something it always depends on the application. And I've been messing around with beam angle and mounting spacing and stuff like that to get the right diffusion. And when you buy products, like I have my mouse here, I don't know if it's on. I don't even know if you can see it. It has RGB in the border. Until I started doing that kind of stuff myself, I didn't realize like how tough it is to get
even lighting.
Yeah. And some products, cheaper products, like it does the job, but when you really look at it, it's like, oh, okay. So you kind of set the standards a little high for yourself, I guess, sometimes. But it's tough. And then how can you make it? Obviously, this company went, there it goes off. And you can see the black spots on camera. Well, I can see them on my screen anyway.
Yeah, I can see them.
And that upsets me if I'm the product designer, but any other way to do it will make it expensive. So they want to keep costs down. And as a designer, you have to balance cost with your capabilities. They have a capability to go to the build house and say, here's our 3D model, injection mold this. Well, we can do that, but we don't quite have $16,000 laying around for a new mold every time, you know?
Yeah.
So can we make it in-house out of acrylic? Can we maybe hire someone else to do, if it's not acrylic, if it's something else within our means and resources and all this and that? So I'm pretty proud of the illuminated switch panel because it's stuff we can build here and didn't have to pay for tooling anywhere else and make it a super expensive panel. It's going to cost more than our regular one. Our regular one is $20, but you know, it might be 50, 60-ish. We'll see where it is. But the design came out pretty good. You'll see soon. We're going to release that soon.
Less
port area. And also, I don't care what DefBot says. They don't know about their own woofers. So we're gonna ignore them.
Yep. Oh, dude.
Scott's got a point. Scott's got a point, guys. If you don't have 5 different types of deadening your door, are you really deadening your door?
Well, he's actually not wrong.
I know. I have 5
types.
I have phone. I have 5 types of deadener in my doors in my truck.
And there's different types of vibration that people don't realize.
Yep.
Yep. That was actually one thing they talked about at jail training was you'd be better off amplifying, DSPing, and properly deadening stock speakers than you would just putting in good speakers into a stock system. And I was
and to hear that from the people that make super badass speakers to tell you,
dude, I was like,
your customer can go down this route. But at a lot of shops, the manager, the owner is like, sell people what they want when they come in the door. But you know what? What people want when they come in the door,
they don't know what they want
for their car to be louder and sound better. So if they say that they want new speakers, and you go, what is your actual goal? And they're like, well, I want it to be louder and sound better. And I go, what if I told you that long before you put new speakers in, if I just put a bunch of sound deadening in your doors, everything would be way fucking better. Just that. And a lot of times, if you're a decent install shop, you can make way more fucking profit, and make a happier customer. Somebody, I mean, even, and then at the same time, if you show these customers, Drew, you were supposed to send me a list of all the deadeners, and I'm supposed to order those in, and then Jerry's going to buy a whole bunch of it from me.
Yeah, for sure.
You were supposed to do that last week.
Oh,
you and Jeff were supposed to send that to me.
Oh,
or not last week before last. Whenever Jeff was on,
I'll type up a list. Yeah, because so there's that, and then the inside of the door was important, but I have an old Chevy truck, so this wasn't even the most important part for my truck.
The door panel itself.
That was so big of a difference because I have an 05 Chevy truck. The door panel is made out of $7 of plastic and a prayer. So there's 2 layers of deadener and then 12 mil foam. My door panels are like 50 to 60 pounds now. They're so heavy.
I gotta say, in my Horizon, I had a set of MTX 8000 components, 6.5-inch components in the doors. Ooh. The doors were deadened as far as I can take it with DB drag rules at the time. But I could do mid 130s with just the 6.5s in the doors. And they sounded decent. They sound good because I totally sealed it. It wasn't just how much deadener I used. It was the technique of making sure the baffle part was completely sealed and any plastic was isolated. And it was basically a big enclosure. That sounded great.
So like in that picture, my open door, it looked, you could see into the door. But when my doors are put together, there's another panel that goes over that big opening that seals the door.
Yeah.
It makes my door a big enclosure.
If you got to use wood too, why not?
Yep.
So when they don't know the specs of their subs and they don't know how to recommend an enclosure for you, that says there was 0 engineering and development into that product of any kind at all.
Development is looking at a catalog
like a thing.
Sometimes.
Dude, they are one of like almost every company that does that. There's another amp company out there that somebody local, a few people local use, but one guy that's got quite the following. And I remember the manual didn't show it showed how to wire the amps, how to strap them, but it was missing the strapping RCA. It was like, just do it this way, but you don't need this one.
You don't need that.
And then contact the owner, and he's like, I don't know. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, how do you own an amp company? And you have amps, you sell amps. You have
strapped an amplifier and burned RCA up in between them because I forgot to ground the second amp.
It's just wild. Dude.
They're
just like
straight up RCA on fire.
It's like if you got $50,000 and you're willing to just send somebody money in Korea, they'll build you amps You don't have to know anything about amps, and you could get a manual that says these amps will put out 1,000,000 watts. You'll be like, oh, whatever it is, here you go. And people buy that.
I
shit.
still
It
know.
just
Use
blows
them
my mind.
yourself.
Yeah. So
Or like, I had an
I
order-
initially tested my amplifiers at 12 volts, 12.0 volts, and that's what I rated my amp at. And I realized that was kind of dumb because people were kind of talking shit, and a couple people were like, "I was gonna buy your amp, but I bought this other one because it made a little more
Makes
power."
more power.
And I was like, I'm like, well. And then when Steve and I tested everything, and my amp made 7,100 watts at 13.8 volts, Steve was like, you should name this the 7,100. And I was like, well, that really does make the most sense now. And I felt kind of dumb because I was like, I'm going to rate them at 12 even because people have voltage drop in that, and it'll be kick ass. They'll always get, rated power. But customers that buy $1,800 amplifiers, I already have shallow subwoofers, John Kane.
I'm gonna touch on this real quick. So just because a manufacturer says 3.5 cubes for a sub, or an export X tuning, that's great. That is a starting point at most, at best. That does not say they have to be in this size. That is not what that means. Prime example. Say you want to play 20 hertz, 15 hertz. Are you going to put it in the recommended enclosure? No, because that's not recommended for your goals. The recommended enclosure is a generic starting point. If you want to do zero testing, you just want to build it and have bass. That's what that's for. That's it. And I have to contain myself many times a week because I'll design like a sundown sub enclosure, a little different than what is on the website that I put on the website. And I'm like, yeah, well,
argue with you. No, man, it says on the website. You're like, that's my name.
I literally did that. So yesterday I was having a really bad day. I kind of contained myself a little bit. Someone's like, oh, well, it's a little small for a DV612, isn't it? And I'm like, says who? Like, oh, well, the Sundown website. I'm like, all right, who put that there? Who designed that? You?
Or like, I bet the other dude, the guy told you to go on Down for Sound's website and fix their shit.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Hey, man.
And then he was looking at the wrong stuff the whole time. But it's like...
And he calls you a dick for it.
I know. But he's like, oh, well, my friends say they need 2.2 sub cubes per sub. I'm like, okay. I have more experience with these subs than your friends. I've been louder with these subs than your friends. I'm sorry. Your friends don't know as much.
No,
in the story. I was being a dick yesterday. I shouldn't have, but...
He's like, I contained myself a little. I was being a dick.
I want to tell him, fuck you. Take what I gave you and be happy. But I didn't.
That's experience and being able to critically think about how woofers and vehicles work to be able to adjust it properly. You do need a starting point if you don't know anything.
Yep, exactly.
But then to be able to mess with it so much, now you know which way you can go. It gets to the point where you can look at how a subwoofer is built and kind of guess.
Yeah, that's all. Like, whenever people are like, "Oh, I don't have specs for this sub," I'm like, "Okay, send me pictures of it." I can look at the sub. Okay, it's got this spider back, this surround, this cone. It's gonna kind of act like this.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I can get DATs pulled on it. I'm like, okay, that's good basic starting information, but not really gonna matter when you put 10,000 watts to it. But yeah. Exactly, just experience.
And you're skewing everything like wildly.
Right. So I had a good friend of mine. He's a manager at a local shop. Actually, the shop that
we've already been over this, dude. We said this first 5 minutes.
I was like, hey, when you sell 15 of my boxes, right? Once you finish selling 15 of my boxes out of your store, I will build you a custom box for your Mustang, right? And he's like, all right.
Probably is smoother and it's sealed.
He was hammering out the sales. He's like, another one. Like, I don't know, 5.5 weeks later, he had reached 15 boxes. I went over, I measured the back of his Mustang, and I was like, damn, there's hella space in the back of a Fox body Mustang. You could put a big ass double 12 box in here. And I'm like, all right, I want you to get 2 U-Series 12s and you're going to be fucking banging. And he's like, okay, cool. I designed the box. I built him the box, brought the box, dropped it off. He pulls out 2 X12s. And I'm like, dude, this box is hella small for 2 X12s. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. We didn't have use. If it sucks, I'll take them out. Puts that shit in. And I'm like, what amp are you running? He's like, all I have is this Hyphonics 1800. And I'm all, and he's like, but I got a lithium bank, and I got a nice head unit, and it's wired up good.
See, but he already knew that it might not do that great because of
right. And he's like, if I hate it, he lit that shit off, and it blew my fucking mind. I was like, holy fuck! I have never heard a fucking Fox body as loud as this. He's like, it's way louder than I thought, and I'm like, dude, you need to get a better amp in there too. But I'm like, you would think that the X's being on fucking maybe 1500 watts if we're lucky would be pretty sad. And
it's the same reason.
Fucking murdered.
It's the same reason how when you said you were testing the 6.5s and 8s, how they would work in such tiny little boxes. Same thing. Incredible motor force on these subs. It says on the Sundown website, they're designed to work in compact ported enclosures. Now, granted, if you give it more space, will it be more efficient? Yeah. Duh.
Well, yes.
But,
so like another example, when I got our first Relentless 6.5s, right? The first test ones they sent to me, and I was like, and I collected all the parameters, and I put that shit in Mixbox Pro and WinISD, and it was like,
the program's like,
hated it, but it wanted them in big fucking boxes, like 0.75, 0.85
for a 6.5.
And I was like, oh no, that's not the fucking point. This, the guy was talking about shallow subs. I was like, I'm gonna put this where people put a shallow sub, only pointing the right direction, and it's gonna sound fucking awesome. But I don't want a big ass box, god damn it, and I was super frustrated. And
shoot me a message.
I put them in fucking 0.75 per sub, and they were great. And I was like, that was awesome. And I'm like, well, let me try them in a little smaller box. And I put them in a little smaller box. And I was like, oh. And then I make it really small. And I didn't really lose at all. What I lost was efficiency. But I could give them more power. And so then I end up with this Relentless 6.5-inch sub. I got 4 of them in a box. I'm feeding 3K to these things, and they just love it. They're just eating it up, and they're pounding like holy hell, and they're significantly louder than they were in a box double the size. And when I had about half the power, a little over half the power to them, like clamped in a fucking on an AMM1, a little more than half, I could bottom them out pretty easily. But now in this nice little tight box, I could beat the shit out of these things and have more output. And it was back to the your software might not really put you. It put me on fucking double the box volume and port, not double port area, but
big,
30% larger port area. So it was more of a learning curve even, and that moment in Nick's Mustang with those X's in 3 cubic feet after displacement. And it was fucking outrageous, and it was impressive. And later he ended up with a Sundown 2K, but I wanted him to get more. I wanted him on like a 4 fucking K in that thing to really let that thing eat. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway.
And then coupling. But, we're not going to get into coupling.
Oh, boy. It gets really fun with coupling. I did a 4/8 enclosure under a seat or something, and I made it kind of small. And he was like, man, that's kind of small. I was like, well, number one, you don't have a lot of space. Number 2, coupling. He's like, what's that? Don't worry about it. Just say okay. Yeah. I need a center console T-line for a ZV6. Okay. T-line? I mean, that's possible. I don't know why you'd waste a sub on that, but you can do that.
What size ZV6?
18, guaranteed. 24. What did hold on? So we'll say what makes an IB sub ideal for an IB? Is it high Q low VAS? I think it's high Q, low VAS. Because it's high cone control with low. You don't need the woofer controls itself more than anything.
Yeah. What's the QTS requirement for IB? It's like around 0.6 is the threshold to be ported, right?
Yeah. Well, if you go off conventional stuff, yeah. I don't know enough about
parameters are real.
I don't know enough about IB to have a proper input on it because I've done zero research. No. The only IB research I've done is Brad's Jeep has two 18s IB in it, and it peaks to 17 hertz, and it does a 132 15 feet behind it.
Jeez.
And it's nasty.
I mean,
That's the
Infinite
one time
Baffle
Drew
was
smiled
the
about
way to go back in the
Normally he'd be
90s.
getting all grumpy.
But because it's not windy, it's an SQ build. It's two 18s IB in the back for lows, for like low lows. And then he has two 12-inch mid basses IB in the kicks for mid bass. All on ground zero power. This thing rips tater chip. Here you go. Here you go.
We need more ground zeros here.
There you go. Blake with the data every time.
Nice. Right on, Blake. Gold
All
star.
right.
Well, fellas, that was fun. We definitely need to get Ed back on here because he's been just a car audio dude just for longer than I've been driving at this point. So
Yeah, maybe have Rich on with you too.
Yeah.
Both you guys in the room together.
It's a little late for him. Like, he's not in the office. He has kids. I don't. So that's why I can be here. But we'll see.
Well, he can leave early.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, boys. Well, again, Ed, thanks for joining. I'll see you Friday night or Saturday for sure.
Yeah, we're driving in Friday. We'll be there sometime at night. So
cool.
And then setting up in the morning, obviously. So
yeah, I will not be there, unfortunately.
Morning, so
I'll be.
It'll be fun.
As Steve is flying out of Vegas, I'll be flying into Vegas.
Yeah, I told you if you want to use my truck, dude, it'll be in economy parking. I'll leave my keys for you.
I asked Brandy. She said, I don't know if we'll need one because we're staying at the same hotel that my buddy Chris Sturgis is staying at, and I think they're getting a car. So it's one of those things. It's like
because it would save me like $70.
Get it,
but it would cost me like $70.
Get the Scotty Johnson limo treatment.
Ooh, well, actually, Jay Jones is in town too, so
there you go.
I may get the Jay Jones limo treatment.
Yeah.
Nice. You guys should have some fun.
Well, we're showing up super late Friday, like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. But because, like I said, we're flying in Friday, out like Sunday or Monday morning, super quick. Because next weekend is Aggie, so I have to leave like Friday for that. But that's another like leave Friday, come home Sunday. Like I'm trying to make these trips like.
Yeah,
fast.
The beginning of the show season is this week, and I'm super stoked that I get a demo from Diego. It's like once a year, I get in this van, and I just can't believe how.
I don't want nothing to do with that van, bro.
Like,
no, the
so
last
awesome.
time I heard that van, I had like cut marks on my face from my beard. I'm good, bro.
Oh,
I'm good,
so
bro. You can't hold your beard because you're just being like rocked in the window like that.
12-18s just going ham.
It's 12-18s on like 12 salt 8s or some ignorance.
Yeah, it's so stupid, but it's awesome. I love it.
It's so stupid. I love it.
Damn it.
Shoot me a message, Troy. But normally
I'll send you a
tuning
video.
starts around $400. So starts around there. And if I have to touch a wire, I mean touch it, it costs a 18 pack of White Claw. So
fucking White Claw. All right, boys.
All right, guys.
On that
Have
note,
a good night.
drink
Everybody
beer.
be
See you
nice to
later.
people.
fellas,
Yeah.
Fix your engine noise. Thanks a lot, Ed. See you guys
Thank
next
you so
week.
much.
y'all have a good one.
Love it.
Fix your engine noise.
In broadcast.